We've got AI on the horizon. We've seen elevated layoffs. What we're seeing right now are white collar layoffs. These big tech companies, the reason why all those people could buy homes in 21, 22, 23 was because of those tech jobs.
The boomers own about 40% of the homes, and that's not just their primary residence. They own multiple homes because as they were growing up, everyone taught them that your house is an investment or real estate's an investment and it's only going to go up. So they bought second homes, third homes, fourth homes. Unfortunately, a lot of these homes that they own, people will not be able to afford. When I used to live in New York, you'd watch old movies and they'd talk about reading the obituaries to find an apartment. I mean, we're kind of entering that phase of what's going to be more important for these markets is how much boomer home ownership do you have? Because that's going to be your biggest headwind. Anyone who was paying attention back in 22 and 23 would have seen this coming from, 100 miles away. But it just takes a long time, much longer than anyone ever believes. But housing moves at the speed of, think of the Titanic turning. It is a very slow process.
If Placer AI can go and tell us where every single cell phone is in the country, how can we not know how many houses we have for sale? But it's a cartel, the industry. And so they've just really clamped down on the data. And a lot of people don't know, when you go to Fed's data site, the people that supply that to the Fed is not some independent agency, it's realtor.com. They are the ones who give the numbers. And then the new homes, it's in everybody. If you're selling something, it's in their vested interest to make it seem like it's a really hot commodity and there's a lack of it.
It's like we are living in nonstop psyop of noise, and housing is its own psyop. Everything that can be thrown at the wall is what's happening right now. And I think it is kind of this last desperate attempt to pretend that the economy is not, and I'm not talking just the US economy, the global economy is in serious trouble.
Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how are you, man?
Today's the best day of my life, Ben. How you doing?
Today is truly fantastic because we have Melody in the house with us. So I'll throw it back to you, Keith, so you can intro our awesome guest, and then we can hear from Melody.
Yes, Melody, thank you for taking the time to join us. Melody is a housing analyst, and her method is the thing that's setting her apart. Instead of fully looking at just the official data, Melody, you go out and you check on some of this stuff yourself. From what I've gathered, you started your mortgage career at GMAC in 2006 and were around for the subprime wave, which then led into the crash. Mm-hmm. And you helped to manage this company's bankruptcy when the company went under in 2012, and then spent the following years on operational effectiveness at large non-bank mortgage servicers, and then moved into mortgage fintech, eventually serving as the SVP of product at a mortgage technology company. Finally here, I've got that you, in 2023, published an article in Housing Wire titled Debunking the Housing Inventory Myth, arguing that the depressed market was caused by affordability rather than a genuine shortage of homes. Okay. It caused a real fight in the industry. And then basically this has continued to be a part of the story. It's this constant conflict about the things that you're saying and what the data and markets are doing at the same time, right?
That's right. Battle Royale.
Yeah. I saw somebody when I first was seeing some of your stuff a few weeks back, or I guess it was about a week back, I was seeing some of your tweets rather, and there was some beef going on.
Oh, I know. Stupid me.
But I guess maybe that's not a particular beef. This is something that's going on all the time for you.
Well, going on all the time, but it got really kind of crazy last year, if you want me to talk about it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it.
In November of last year, right before Thanksgiving, I had done an interview with Adam Taggart on Thoughtful Money, and Newsweek in Europe decided to just write a whole story about it and basically just kind of go through the whole video, didn't reach out to me or Adam for comment. And they just published this thing. And the headline is that I say, home prices are going to crash 50% in 1 year, which is not at all what I said. I said, yes, we're probably going to see some 30 to 50% correction, depending on that median salary, wherever it was. But, it would take some time. And so then I reached out. Literally, it was 7 hours because they were overseas. Like, I woke up that morning, I got some random text, still don't know who texted me. And they're like, "You're in Newsweek." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I Google myself in Newsweek, and I reach out to the reporter right away and I say, "Hey, listen, I didn't say that. What I said was X," and I clarified, "Well, it was the day before Thanksgiving." And I guess that story was getting a ton of traction, like a ton. And so I didn't hear from them for 2 more days, and they finally corrected the story. But they kept the headline a little, it still sounded like I had said that. And then somebody like Unusual Wells on X Twitter, if you guys probably know that account, picked it up, didn't at me. They know exactly who I am, and says Melody Wright says home prices are going to drop 50% this year. That thing got like 8 million views the last time I saw it. I had to mute all this stuff because it was so insane. Like, across every platform, people were yelling about something I didn't even say. And then this whole group of industry loyalists kind of band together, and they know me. Like, because I've tried very hard to keep up an open relationship, to go on their shows, to, just to be cordial. That was always my goal on X, to freely exchange ideas. But they went around after they knew I hadn't said it. We're doing all these videos saying I said it. And so that account that you saw the beef with, which that was just so stupid on my part. He was part of that whole gang, and I've had him muted for 3 years. But someone showed me something he said and I couldn't respond to him. But then he creates this campaign where when I say I couldn't reply to him, he had me blocked, but he pretended like he didn't. Then each day he would go out there and say, "Day 20 of Melody Wright lying," or something like this. And I finally just decided to encounter him. But, he's a very extreme example. But I will say is that the industry, and I mean, the article, I call the Newsweek, it just never, it's a gift that never, it just keeps on giving, because all these reporters then picked it up. And because it's in Newsweek and they have this rule that if it's in a publication like that, then they can quote it. And so anyway, it was quite crazy. And put it this way, I just kind of had reached my limit. I've probably felt kind of attacked. And believe me, since the day I started talking about this stuff, but that was kind of an unreal example where millions of people were arguing about something I didn't say. So, but they've all been arguing since the first day I published that article in Housing Wire.
That's the scary and dangerous part of the attention economy, is that people really don't care to fact check or even really correct things when they do get them wrong. Because of course you're going to make mistakes here and there, but
Of course, yeah.
if you know the person and you double down on it for the sake of views, like, that just happens because unfortunately, like, that's how a lot of people make their money. And it's also why Twitter in particular has become such a shit show. We've talked about it on the show before, where a big part of that was because their primary incentive structure for monetization was just impressions. So that almost
Right.
incentivizes hyperbole and lying, which is something that
Oh,
you
yeah.
lived through right here, which is crazy to see.
Right. And I'm just a little unverified account. I don't get on purpose. That's a choice, a moral choice, actually. And, I don't get paid, and they all get paid for attacking me and
Yeah, it's
engagement
wild.
farming off me. And so, I should have never responded to that guy, but I kind of reached my limit and went a little nuts. But, it's the way it goes when you're in the game and you're out there,
It's so hard.
fighting with your Wonder Woman cuffs. Like, they just keep coming. So, yeah.
Love it.
But
Yeah, as a creator, it's always a tough choice. Like, do
it
you just
really
completely
is.
ignore everyone, or do you participate?
Right.
But almost nothing good comes from ever participating. I've learned from doing this for almost 10 years. So it's like, yeah, like you said, it's hard not to touch it sometimes when someone's just flat out lying.
Right. Right. And call it, and it, we all have our like core thing that really upsets us, and that is someone calling me a liar, because I try very hard to get it right. So and like you were saying, our Keith was saying, you can't always get it right. Like, you're doing your best. The information, you're going out there talking with the information that you have that could literally change in 30 minutes. And so, but I like to get it right. And I'll tell you when things are going against my thesis and when they're going for my thesis. And I've been able to kind of, one of the reasons why these guys just can't stand me is because I've stayed cordial. I will go on their shows, and people just, even if they disagree with me, they respect that I'm not just going out there with some headline. I'm really trying to show them what's going on and to get it right. And by the way, I'm not in it for the clicks, the money. I'm in it to save young Americans who are overextending themselves. And I have a real story to tell them because of my experience, both professionally and personally, because, I lived through a foreclosure, and I know what and I know what these mortgage companies are doing and the government agencies that are fueling it. And so that is, I want people to understand what's really happening when you sign those loan documents.
One of the things that was in the trailer that I wanted to get you to elaborate on a little bit is this idea that, like, the Fed is publishing certain data and using rather certain data that's coming from realtor.com.
Yeah.
Can you break down in what way is the Fed using that data? And then can you break down the incentives of why that's so messed up?
Yeah, it's so messed up because realtor.com is owned by the same parent as the Wall Street Journal. And once you know that, and you start reading their articles, like, you cannot unsee that ever. And by the way, I used to work for the Wall Street Journal. But that was prior to this current ownership. That was back when the family owned it. And I've seen a real change in that publication. But yeah, so realtor.com, which, by the way, they were, I think, originally affiliated with the National Association of Realtors, but they kind of, I think, once the purchase was made, they kind of separated, but not really. And so they have the most connection to what's called the multiple listing services. And that's where you have about 600 of these across the country, where theoretically that's where all your listings are supposed to be. But what I found out in my research is that's not at all accurate. Like, in fact, a lot of those local listing services can say, I don't want to send my information to you. But Realtor has the most connection of anyone. And I was able to get them to confirm that with me. And you can just go look out at Realtor, Zillow, Redfin, and you can see the differences yourself. And so a lot of times Realtor will have a whole bunch more listings than Zillow. So I always encourage, but everybody goes to Zillow. So anyway, what they do is they take what's entered into the MLS, no quality control over this stuff. It's just humans typing in old systems. And then they go off and they say to Fed, here's all the listings for sale in the country. Well, they don't have them all. We know this. They also don't have the new builds, which is a big part of this cycle. And so what a builder may do is they'll list one listing on like Zillow, but in reality, they've got 300 homes in that subdivision. And so we were looking at this. And then on top of all of that, and this happened back in the 80s too, when rates went up. This whole other sector kind of shot up, kind of private note sector, this private market sector, where you were having a ton of transactions that were not in these MLS. For instance, in Austin, there was an article done in Inman, which is an industry publication, saying that over 50% of the sales didn't make it to MLS. And so everybody was looking at this number that Realtor was sending to Fred. We'll talk about how they revise it and don't say anything too. And saying this was all the inventory in the country, and that just was not even remotely accurate. But why is the Federal Reserve, why is kind of the reporting being supplied by the industry when their entire incentive is based on getting you to buy a home, thinking at a higher price because that's higher commissions, thinking that, it's FOMO. It's like, you're going to miss out. There's no inventory. You've got to race out there. And unfortunately, what a lot of these during the COVID boom, what a lot of these, people lining out the door. Most of them were investors. That's what we don't realize. It wasn't just your home. And you'll hear the homeowner story, but in reality, it was because and not just your institutionals, but your mom and pops, like everybody that moved to Texas that I've talked to, like from tech, they bought 2 homes. They bought one to live in and one to rent out. And now they're all screwed, unfortunately, because they can't rent out for, their mortgage payment. But yeah, like how insane is it that an industry participant is telling you, these metrics? There's no independent, and this is, the housing industry is anywhere from 12 to 20% of GDP, our gross domestic product, and so it's hugely important. And so it was in everybody's best interest during the industry to keep people thinking there was an inventory shortage when, all you have to do is like look at our demographics and know that that is just not even remotely true. But I went out on the road to prove it. In 2023 is when I took my first trip, started in Nashville, but definitely hit Austin and then ton of places across the Sun Belt.
So when you're doing this trip, what was the bigger motivation for that? And then what were the biggest findings doing all that? 'Cause that's gonna be a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, but people just kept telling me I didn't know what I know, like, and I, as someone who was gaslit quite a bit as a child, like I'll be like, oh, maybe I don't know. maybe this 20 years of mortgage experience doesn't mean a thing. Maybe it doesn't mean a thing that I can read or that I can look at this data and know something's not right. And so, I had to go and see for myself. And so, but I went out so that I could say, I woke up one morning and that Joe guy that if you get a daily digest from Bloomberg, he's the one that does it. He's like, the housing market's turning around. I was like, you have lost your ever loving mind. Like, I mean, and I just couldn't take it anymore. All these people like screaming at me on X that I was crazy. So I just got up and I had just heard some podcast where the guy's like, if you want to do something big, just do the one thing that you can do that nobody else can do. And at the time, I'd had a car that because I worked so much, I'd never driven because I was always working. And I wasn't working full time. I'd started my own company. And so I was like, well, I can get out on the road. And that's what I did. And it was truly shocking. I couldn't even leave Nashville without being like, this is way worse than I even knew. It was that fast. And Nashville was my first stop, and I was just like, oh, and I did the perimeter first. And that is where you always see the true craziness. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, this empty Evergrande like tower of multifamily outside of Nashville, these farms of homes where, Nashville is where I saw my first mega site, which is where all the builders come to the same place, which whatever doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And they just build these big little towns, theoretically, but I saw so many that were in progress and abandoned even back then in 23. But then what happened is after SVB, the bank failures, BTFP, everybody was like, oh, it's going to be fine. And so you would see a lot of those projects, get picked back up, but now you're seeing them also get abandoned again. But yeah, I just had to get out on the road to make sure I wasn't crazy, and each time I go out, it's the same thing. I've spent some time being yelled at again, being told I'm nuts. And I think, well, maybe it's not as bad as I think. And then I just get out there and I'm like, no, it's worse. Like when I went out to California, I got blackpilled completely because, California, they'd all said, well, there hasn't been as much construction, XYZ. I was like, yeah, but you've had almost 300,000 people leave LA, for instance. That has to have an impact, right? And sure enough, and I saw a mainstream headline today. It's the first mainstream I've seen about California. I've been talking about California for 18 months. And so, this stuff just takes a really, really long time on purpose. So,
yeah, I think there's so many people who their livelihood is predicated on it just continuing to go and continuing to go up too, right? So then that just spills over when so many people that are doing well have that kind of conviction in the words that they're saying. Anyone who's remotely ignorant or hasn't done what you did, like actually gone and see it, they're like, okay, they must know, right? Like how could they know it? And I like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way I know better than them. But
100%.
So then if you're as an individual, like these companies have so much money that they could easily go and do this. They just must not want to because the data would be bad.
Man, I spent so much time thinking about that. Because well, so interestingly, in 23, I had a Fortune reporter who was in contact with me, and we were going to do a big story on it. And he was curious because he's like, this, I'm hearing about these massive abandoned subdivisions. I was like, yeah, me too. And then he tried to run it by his editors, and they just refused to give him any money to do the story. And then the banking crisis happened. But talking about industry analysts specifically, I recently wrote a piece called "Surfing the Cycle," and so I had a hero from the last cycle who was one of the only people to call what was going on, and I watched her get bought out by a big firm, Washington adjacent, and I watched her tone change. And I realized what they do is they surf the cycle. So and also theoretically, this was someone who was getting a proprietary survey filled out. She was also going to markets, but she was going to sit in boardrooms, not go look boots on the ground. And what I realized that you can do, and this is what happened to so many poor, small mom and pop investors who got flown in, taken to a suburb and said, look, this is next to a great school. This is this, and this. And then back on the highway, and they don't see the 30 other new build, subdivisions around. And if you get taken straight to the boardroom, like if you're in Phoenix, for instance, you have these huge like walls, so you can't see, like on the highway, so you can't see what's happening behind, and you can go straight to that boardroom and you're just told. But I also realize there's an incentive to surf the cycle, right? You to kind of tell everybody what they want to hear on the way up, and then they're going to wait. And I made a joke in that piece where I said it's kind of like, when you hear the band on the Titanic, like when you can't hear them playing anymore, it's because they're already dead. Like, and then that's when these analysts will turn and start. And I've seen it. I've seen them all start turning right now. And it's hilarious. Like the people that are reaching out to me right now who, have been big haters, they're now like, oh, what do you want to come on the show and talk about? Just like, okay, buddy. So yeah, there's just no incentive for them because they don't want to tell anybody bad news. And a lot of these people I actually really like, they're nice people. But to me, this is kind of I need to, alert people to what's coming because this is going to have massive impacts on financial futures.
So when you're going out and doing this research, like who are the people that you're talking to? What does it look like? Who are the people that are you ever running into people who are also in alignment with you at all? And like what perspective do those people have? Where are they coming from? Can you talk a little bit about some of that?
You know who's in alignment? It's everybody on the street that you meet, like your Uber drivers, your hospitality workers, you're just your like when we went to Austin the first time and we just randomly started interviewing people. Well, it was my second time in Austin, but like just first, just interviewing ordinary Americans, and I was like, whoa. They were saying things like, well, the Federal Reserve bought mortgage-backed securities. And I was like, well, daggum. Okay. Like like regular people understand this and are in alignment, but the industry never is. I remember my first trip to Austin, I called the people at Zonda who have the biggest new build listings out there. And he literally called me crazy. And we were on the phone and I said, well, what about this subdivision? And what about here? And he said, no, those are all going to be filled. And then he would be like, well, there's probably going to be a problem over there. Maybe a problem over there. I was like, do you see how many problems you're talking about already? And what about this one they built out in the place where it's the largest amount of, sexual offender registers in the country in this one county? How many people do you think are going to buy out there? Like, just some crazy stuff that you wouldn't even believe. And by the way, that county specifically, that area has a lot of empty new builds. But totally disagree with me. 2 years later, their primary economist, who I tried to talk to, is on stage talking about the terrible things going on in the Austin market. I never got an apology. But regular Americans know, Keith, to answer your question, they know. They know.
Mm.
It's just that, the top 1 to 10% on FinTwit doesn't seem to know, or what, or on CB, they don't know, but everybody else knows. So
It's a
it's
fascinating
frustrating.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the everyday person, I'm sure it can also be a little bit conflicting too, in terms of like, if you're someone who wants to buy, right?
Mhm.
It's like, okay, we can kind of see here that things might not be proper, but prices keep going up. My neighbor's getting rich.
Yes.
They're, putting gains on paper, and I'm sitting here on the sidelines. So how do you talk to someone who's seeing that every single day going on, and they're like, oh, well, maybe I should wait. Like, but what do I do really?
I have that conversation every day because even the smartest people, cannot believe when they are looking at their neighbor and they're saying, but wait, why? Well, they got a boat, they got a, and they just bought this. I'm like, dude, they bought it on leverage. And luckily there's tools out there. I'm not sponsored. I don't take sponsorships, but a really good tool is foreclosures.com or Property Radar, where you can go and you can look at what's actually happening in that neighborhood. And what you will start to see is the amount of leverage. You'll start to see how many people have unpaid property tax. You'll start to see how many owner lanes. You'll start to see how many people are underwater. And I'm not talking about some crappy neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale. I'm talking about very rich neighborhoods, $1 million homes, and these people are underwater, haven't paid their taxes. And this is, I mean, if you watch The Big Short, this is how it always goes down, is the ones that you think are doing the best are going to be the first to get that boat repoed out of the driveway. And they're just going to start disappearing from your country club. They're just going to start, and that's already starting to happen. I mean, we're watching this drama play out right now with Mark Walters or whatever his name is, and this guy that works for him. You guys may not have heard this story. Um, that has a huge yacht and all of these things. It's all built on fraud. And so there's just so much leverage and fraud in the system. And so I try to show people from behind. So I have one person right now I'm trying to help. I'm losing my mind because he's a very smart person, but he just can't. He just keeps looking at his neighbor, but also his wife is pregnant. This is a huge one where, and I get it, they want to nest, they want to do all this. But what I try to tell people is home ownership is not easy. And the last thing you want to do is become a new homeowner that first year that your baby is born. And that baby isn't going to remember where it lived in that first year. It's going to remember if you're happy, if you're not fighting about money, if you don't lose your home and then get divorced because a lot of times it's like the provider in that scenario thinks they've failed and they just can't live with that situation. And so, I just say stop with the FOMO. Like it's never going to work out for you, and you're going to feel like a bigger fool when all those people disappear and you've still got this huge mortgage and your roof has a leak and what are you going to do about that? And or what I'm seeing right now is, man, it's killing me. We can talk about it. It's just like these escrow notices, and for people that don't know what that means, it's like depending on how much money you've borrowed, the mortgage company will require you to have escrow. They pay your taxes and insurance. And once a year, they do something called an escrow analysis to say, okay, how much do we have to take from you in your monthly payment to be able to pay this? Man, I just saw somebody literally, because I do sampling of client work, where my client had to advance out almost $9,000 for the California Fair Plan, and this borrower hadn't had that last year. So you're talking about almost $1,000 that mortgage payment's about to go. And I've seen mortgage payments go up 2 times, 3 times as much because of this. So it's really upsetting because a lot of those that initial escrow balance is based on what property taxes were, what home insurance was and then we're seeing insurance go up all over the place, as well as property taxes, home values rise.
Keith, you got something?
I got something,
Go
but
for it. Go
if
for it.
it's along the lines of that, then I'll
Go for
let
it.
you
Go for
do
it.
it.
Go for it. Go for it.
I mean, my thing is like for the people who are watching this, it's like, all right, don't get FOMO from what's happening in the housing market. On the other side, we're talking about what's going on with AI, and
Mhm.
it's like crazy valuations going over there on that side of things. And I kind of just come back to like, all right, so what does somebody do with their money then in this kind of
Mm.
a situation?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I don't, of course, this isn't investment advice, but for me, I think I'm looking at metals, commodities, looking at cash, quite honestly, for, because I do think there are going to be buying opportunities. And I'm certainly not looking at the bond market. I might be
Right.
looking at T bill and chill, short term gains there, which I think you can still, but anything out beyond, I wouldn't even go a year, to be honest with you, at this point with what we're seeing in the bond market. But yeah, it is hard to know. And the hardest thing is patience. Like I think what you were saying, Keith, is people are like, look at all these gains, people. But guys, it'll be overnight. And I have a good buddy, nobody special, who way before Ed Zitron, way before all these people was looking into kind of the circular financing and the outright fraud at CoreWeave, and the fact that it's a lot of the same actors in this were the same in those collateralized debt obligations last time. The very same person, by the way, that
Wow.
Mark Baum was supposedly sitting at a table with in Las Vegas when he's like, you know, what's happening, or the real Steve Eisman. And so, this, I think we are every day we're getting closer and closer to an acknowledgement. And this is the other work I do because of that technology background. I've gone out to the data centers. I'll be doing a huge trip in Texas next month, just Texas, where it's over 400 megawatts of, our giga. I can't even, there's the numbers are so big you can't even keep them straight, where they just don't have that power. And pretty soon, people are going to realize, oh, I don't have the power. But what you're seeing, let's take New Albany, Ohio, right now, which is where there are like 26,000 construction workers on site. That's where that Intel plant is, owned by Les Wexner, by the way. In 2010, that site was all set up, brokered through. I've been told by residents there, through Epstein, et cetera, and they started putting power there 16 years ago. And so now you have this mega complex, where you've got Meta, you have everybody there, but there's no power. There's not enough power left. But there's 26,000 construction workers. What happens when they say, okay, listen, we're not going to get this power for 5 years. We've also just spent all of our free cash flow. We're trying to, get debt in the market, but that's not going so well either. Soon, some of those construction workers are going to go home, and we are going to get a realization about what this AI thing is. Is there some promise in the technology? I could talk about that for hours, but sure, but not what anybody is saying. And also, what I know about corporate America, because I spent too much of my life there, is that I was trying to implement projects like this before I left and was not able because the corporate culture is just not capable of implementation anymore. Like the people, it's like working in Soviet Russia is what corporate is right now.
That's something I've been talking about on the show so much. Keith, when we're talking about like why bigger companies are going to be really slow to adapt is because the level of bureaucracy in these organizations is just
Mhm.
absurd. There are so many people in upper or mid-level management that are wildly incompetent, but they've like ridden up the ladder
They
and
filled up.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I saw this firsthand working in marketing because I tried to like pitch my services to these marketing executives all the time, and I was laughed out of the room all the time. And
Yeah.
I was the only one in the room or on the call that knew what I was talking about.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, you guys are done. You're cooked. And there needs
Yeah.
to be this natural like flushing out of the system where people who aren't new and
Yes.
innovative get out, or if you're not willing to adapt, you move on. And that's just not
Yes.
happening right now, which is just
No.
feeding into all of this. But the point that I was going to say, Keith, you basically went the same direction I did, is that the average person looking at this, it's almost impossible not to have FOMO because there's so many bubbles everywhere. It just kind of feels like, okay, well, these all should have popped and none of them
Mhm.
have. So like, are they just
Mhm.
never going to? Like, how do you deal with that? Like, do you think about that much?
I can't ever stop thinking about it. I think about it every day because I've gone out there saying to people, be careful. Like, so, but I also know. So I was in a very unique position last time, where we led all the write downs. We were living the nightmare almost 2 years before everybody else. And so I know what it means to be very early, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's just them." And you're like, I don't, I don't think so. But I can tell you, and I said this, we've had a ton of intervention. We've all seen it. You know, to me, you couldn't get more in your face when they named it BTFP. So buy the F and put, like that was the literal name of this facility that the Fed came up to give, basically value these assets at 100% that we're not. You see it in commercial real estate where every bank and non-bank got a call saying you have to modify these loans. Do not let them go. Then you had private credit come in 25 when everything should have been expiring and saying, oh, okay, we're going to get back into this space. But now it's all running out. I haven't talked, I'm going to give you guys some breaking news. So, two things. One, commercial real estate. We've been hearing about that debt maturity wall since probably late 22 when Blackstone first gated its fund. But then what basically every that debt maturity wall, they had extension options written into that. But now what's coming for Q3 and Q4 is a hard debt maturity wall, meaning there are no extension options. And at the same time, private credit has kind of, exited stage left because they can't get any funding. So commercial real estate is going to come crashing down in the fall, as if it hasn't already. I mean, you can see I dig into Freddie Mac multifamily securitizations, and oh my gosh, they are the true subprime, even though we still have mortgage subprime for FHA, basically. Well, so that's the commercial side. That's going to crash into Q3 and Q4. I think the AI narrative, that there's a massive leak in that. It all started basically with Alex Carr. I mean, well, it really started with DeepSeek, as we know, but then Alex Karp going crazy about the frontier models. Suddenly, Altman and I can never say his name, Emmadai, whatever, are like got some weird stuff, stories, narratives around them. And I always joke that when they were going to go meet in Washington, it was going to be a red wedding because I think there's going to be a couple of them taken off. And I think the frontier models are being set up to be taken off the stage. I think we're going to pretend to fight about China and open source, but I'm like, come on, all these people want to make money, and so they're not going to make money on those products. I mean, that's just it's a losing problem. So anyway, that's gonna post the election. I think we're going to start getting more and more movement on that narrative busting, and then on the mortgage side, basically, so we knew when they put all of those restrictions on the FHA loss mitigation program last October. This is how long all this crap takes. They actually announced it in April of 25. Those restrictions go on in October. And for those of us that know mortgage, we know, okay, well, it's going to take about another, I don't know, 9 months to 12 months because of all the different rules for us to start seeing that delinquency. And then on top of this, they kind of snuck in a little bit more forbearance, whereas it should have been completely expired after COVID, but they redid the rule. So we knew that basically by the end of this year, we're going to see massive sort of increases in foreclosures after seeing increases in delinquency. I did not think we would see that kind of the biggest jumps in foreclosure starts until probably November, December. But I'm looking at my client books, and guys, I don't even want to say these numbers in terms of the amount of starts we're going to see for August reporting, and it's so shocking to me because I've just been watching this extend and pretend for so long. So back to your question, like, do I think about it constantly? What else could they do? Good grief, But what I know, and this is where my mortgage finance background comes, I wasn't the person out there originating loans. I was the one in corporate talking about the whole business. And I understand securitizations and I understand the securitization market. And I understand there's only so far you can go before you break that. And they don't want to break. If they break that, I mean, it's just game over. And so I know it's so hard. I know it's so hard to be patient, but we have to be logical, and we have to be, capable of standing up against everybody else. Because I just say, and some people like can't afford to buy a house. They might have a year of reserves, and they might not be. But if you're taking out leverage to do it, you just have to be very, very, very careful. And so, yeah, it's a hard question, and it's hard to. I mean, I understand people who can't believe what I'm saying, because you are looking around and you're thinking everyone around you is getting rich, but give it a little bit of time. It ain't gonna feel that way.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it very early on in this conversation where you got to look at everyone's incentives and what is the incentive of even the person across from you telling you, right? Like that the
Mhm.
things are great. And then,
That's
but
right.
also, wi- eventually you've got to think that one of these many bubbles, and we've talked about so many things, even like private credit, we talked about so many different bubbles that are seemingly existing.
Right.
You've got to think that one popping makes them all pop. Like, have
Right.
you thought about that
Oh
scenario
yeah.
of what
Oh
happens
yeah.
next? And do you think there was any sort of like intentionality to all of this, or is this just desperation compounding on itself?
Man, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I do. I
Go for
do.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've been living on narrative for so long, and so you go way back in my background. I was an academic, believe it or not, but I always had to have my foot in business because I was poor, and so I was always working full time and going to grad school and still taking out loans. Like what? But so I studied. What did I study? I studied literature, but then I kind of morphed into studying. Yeah, I studied Russian literature. I studied Russian propaganda. Then I kind of moved into the IMF and the World Bank and how they were screwing over all these, post-colonial countries and all this. I learned about narratives and narrative spinning. And so I watch narratives now. I barely have to read articles anymore because I mean, most of them are just lies, but you can look at how the narratives start to converge. And so I always say this to people: one, watch what they're doing, not what they say. Watch what they're doing, not what they say. And then two, watch the narrative start to converge because then you'll start to figure out where we're going. And this is what I mean about watching that. First it's Alex Karp, then it's the drama around Almada, whatever his name is, his wife. Like it's just you can start to see, and really where you can see this is with the Iran war. I mean, good grief. All the things that didn't make sense to us, if you kind of turn back and look, you think, oh, we were headed here for some time, but the intentionality, let me get to that. So, probably around the middle of late middle of last year, Zillow comes out with an article saying, 53% of homes listed have have cut their prices on average by 9.97% or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you started seeing other companies come out talking about home prices leading up to November when me myself gets paraded out there with, even though I didn't say it, the idea that we were about to have a huge home price correction. Same thing in AI, same thing in private credit. You just saw all of a sudden themes that I've been talking about and following for a very long time, which were, I mean, just cracking under the surface, but nobody gave a crap. Like nobody. Suddenly, mainstream media was starting to talk about these things too. And so I do think there was some sort of intentionality around it. I do think there was some sort of decision that it was time to let it go, and also for those in the know to loot the system. Absolutely. Just keep looting, 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 get every last dime out that you can. And I think that that is what because in reality, I think all the guys in the know probably in April of 25 got their warning shot. And I think that was a warning shot, around the terror of terror or whatever. It's like, okay, get your ducks in a row, because this is coming. And I even think with the Warsh thing, like what a Boy Scout, right? Perfect for the part of what comes next. And so I just see a lot. I also have a background. I have a crazy life. I've had a crazy life, but I have a background working for a very politician who ran for president, almost won the nomination, and I was behind the scenes on that. So I know that they act. This is acting. This is kayfabe. They all get along, like they all act like they hate each other, and then they're all going to the same parties and flying on the same private jets from Silicon Valley, for free. Like this is the life of a politician, and so. I believe there was some intentionality, and I believe that in the fall of last year was the first go, like real go. Like maybe April of 25 was a warning. Really, August of 24 was kind of the first. And it's just kind of crazy how long this all takes to play out, but it's a big club and none of us are in it. And so, I think these guys all got their orders.
Any theories on what the end game is?
Gosh. Well, everybody has a theory, right? Like I think that I think there's some merit to the theory of sort of, the surveillance state to the central bank did, these types of things, but it's not going to be CBDC because guess what they banned in the Road to Housing Act? No CBDC till 2030 in the Road to Housing Act. Someone tell me, like, it's just the last thing in that doesn't even make, but anyway, okay, that's the whole, but I think, maybe a surveillance state, maybe, direct, suddenly some sort of UBI, some sort of, it's so bad that like, we have to suck off the government teat or whatever, like, sorry for that graphic image, but you know what I mean? Like, that seems to be if that where the narratives converge. But I also am the type that realize our thing, just having worked in these circles, been on these private planes as an assistant, not as a, they're just not that smart either. So it's like we've got these two. So who's going to win? Well, I still think we can win. And that's how I'm going to live my life, by becoming more resilient, more aware, and I'm not going to stop looking. I'm not going to stop looking at narratives. I'm not going to stop trying to find the closest thing we can find to the truth, and I'm also going to be planting my garden, and I'm also going to be getting to know my neighbors and becoming resilient locally, because and in Tennessee, which you probably know, Keith, we have a ton of these flock cameras. They're everywhere. I just got my first flock ticket. I didn't even run this. Wow. I'm gonna order a hearing. I'm probably right about it too. So yeah, I think that's probably where they're trying to go. But I also know they really, in my opinion, and I don't know who they is, and there's 1,000 theories, and I've read all of them. Okay, like I really have gone deep into this stuff. I've read both of Whitney Webb's books. Like I've read it all, which I thought she was writing about my life, because a lot of the companies she was talking about, like Allen and Company, where I worked, and I saw a lot of this stuff happen, or at least whatever. So. I don't know who they are, but I also know somebody messed up really bad in COVID, and I got woken up in a massive way, and I always love when they try to reappropriate terms. We're going to pretend like woke was this other movement, but in reality, a lot of us woke up who had probably been woken up at some point in our lives. We're just like, I don't have time for that. But then suddenly you have time for that. And you're just like, oh no, sir. No. And that's, for me, that is what brought me to the arena, was COVID, And so, yeah, I think we can still win this, whatever this is. It's not going to be about national elections, it's going to be about pushing up from the bottom and making people listen to you. And you can. There's all kinds of tools. My buddy Travis from Real Estate Mindset, open records requests. Like he's going out there taking down these local municipalities for all their fraud and things like this. And so, that's how I think we have to deal with it.
Love that. Yeah, we try to preach a very similar mantra that like the game's not over, but they control the narrative, so they're going to try to tell you that it is, right? So then perception creates reality, and they're also think about the power structure, right? They've got to create chaos or the semblance of chaos to then justify the need for control as a form of safety.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
The other piece of that is don't take the bait. Right.
That's
like
right.
when they're telling you it's that messed up outside, like go see for yourself, because 99% of the time they're full of shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Or it could even be like, so oftentimes it is this too, like the person is pushing it forward because they want the views themselves too. Right. So sometimes it's not even necessarily pure like conspiratorial stuff. Sometimes it's just on display the very broken incentive structures that are everywhere with all the things that we do.
I think that's the majority of the time. I think that's the crazy thing about influence and influence operations. When you really study them or you read something like The Rape of the Mind, it's like you don't even have to really, the person doesn't usually even know what's happening. You can just gently nudge them in the right direction with an incentive, with, oh, why did I get this book deal? Or why did this? And you don't even really know. But then suddenly, as a human, like everybody loves you and you're like, oh, I better do more. I mean, it's just like we're all human. And so it's very easy to be influenced if you don't understand what's happening. And so I would say that's majority of the time. It's 95% of the time. And then there are the 5%, which makes me, I still can't believe they're doing what they're doing. Like I am an optimist. Everybody calls me a doomer, but I really am an optimist. And I just can't believe sometimes it takes them smacking me in the face to be like, oh no, they're just lying. They're just lying.
It is crazy.
I get fooled,
We all do. It's impossible not to, especially in the age of AI with, from video standpoint, especially for people who didn't grow up on the internet. Like that's tough.
Yeah.
I see my grandparents and even my mom now like interacting with AI content, not knowing it's AI content all the time.
Oh gosh.
And then also AI in terms of the bots too, right? Within the comment section. A lot of people think that those are real. You must run into a lot of that on your content, a lot of replies from bots.
Oh yeah. And I kind of think I'm, aware of that, but I got to be honest. I think probably that one account, what a couple of my friends think is that it was sold. Because I remember interacting with that account before it kind of went crazy, and it wasn't as crazy. And I had other friends with this experience as well. But then recently that account really after November went insane, and they deleted all these really productive conversations we'd had in the past or that friends of mine had. And so they think it was probably sold, and it's a paid account from the industry, like purpose. And so, so I'm very aware, having programmed in my life, how easy it would be to create a bot to get my goat like immediately. Like we all are open books, actually, if you just pay attention for 30 seconds. And so I think most of it is that. I really do. It's very rare that a real human is doing that to you. But many people can't even fathom that, so.
Yes. And if you don't create content, you don't grasp the size and scope of the online community for attention, like the fact that a page could be bought and sold, and also really what that's worth. People do not grasp that. Let's look at a macro scale. Like Elon happened to buy Twitter because he was the free speech guy. Yeah, okay. And he happened to buy it like a month before ChatGPT launches. Right. So, and then people look at the multiple that he paid, and they roast him for being a bad businessman, but they're delusional. They don't understand enough to even have an opinion on the point, because Twitter is problematic because of who the audience is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like if you compare it apples to apples with just a sheer attention thing like TV, I could understand why you think he overpaid. He has all the tech people and like all of the smartest people on the planet that are spending time there. Like manipulating them is like, what is that worth? Could you put a price tag on it? I don't think so. So yeah, it's important that everyone's social media literacy rises. I think you just got to laugh when you see shit.
Yes. Yes. I think you just made an excellent point, and I want to. So something I noticed too that he did, if you're into programming or tech at all, like you can watch what he's doing and just go, "Wow, that's real stupid genius." One thing he did not. I guess it was probably a year ago. I can't remember if you guys can remember when they started messing with the chat function. You would find that when you're using it on the desktop app, you could not toggle anymore direct into Twitter back to chat. It would make you open another window and open another window and open another window. And there would be days I'd be done. I'd have like 15, which because I'm I'm a cluttered brain person. But then he gets to say there's X amount of instances of X open, right? To his marketers. So he just exponentially made his usage look.
They did that with YouTube too, where
Yeah.
they built it so that, like, I'm sorry, X did that with YouTube links. So they basically made it so that it no longer took you off the platform. You like had to watch it
Right.
within X, which is
Right.
time spent on platform. So you could
Right.
theoretically be watching a YouTube video for like an hour, but it actually is considered time spent on X.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's how they're capturing it. I've not seen the back end, but
yeah, because and you can even see he's saying usage went up, things like this. But yeah, he's a very good charlatan. He's very good at those types of tricks to make things seem one way versus the other. But yeah, no, and I mean it's massive influence having ownership of something like this. I mean, massive. I really, in sort of the culture battle, there's really, TikTok is one thing, but there's something very powerful about, I call it X Twitter. So,
Yeah, I still call it Twitter on
Yeah.
a daily basis. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on that piece of it. Been with someone who's continued to kind of like show me even more deeper levels of media literacy and understanding like what some of the incentives are on some of these platforms. Um, so you mentioned kind of like not also, I guess, not paying for X. Is there places where you specifically go instead of X to keep getting your thoughts out, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, that's a good, it's, man, so I I recently, after that whole episode, because I just found myself getting to the point, it's like, I just don't want to, this is driving me insane because people are just so nuts. I was like, should I just quit completely? Um, Substack has been good for me. I'm working on my website too because I don't trust any of these platforms completely, that they won't deplatform someone when things get crazy enough. And I think things are going to get crazy enough. And so I'm working on my website where I can still have my content and things like that. And the way that I'm using X right now is I'm on a lot of chat with friends or colleagues, and I watch them. I'll like look at them for news articles, but I won't go out to main scroll onto X. But it's a question I think about often, because so much of my breaking news, and I did kind of like an exercise with myself because I took 10 days off Twitter. And, I would read the headlines and then I would go to the chats. Okay, how much am I missing if I'm not looking at the chats versus just the headlines? And what I found is that actually, because of how informed I am about where we are in this narrative cycle, that I wasn't missing that much. And maybe I was missing a certain detail, but it's hard to say because the reach that you can get on X is insane. I mean, I have met people. I can't even say some of the people that I've met because that's how I've before he went bananas, Bill Pulte followed me for 2 years. So, you know, like, uh, so it has great reach. It's hard to know. I think the best thing that you can do is just have rules for yourself on how you engage, and then have friends that can tell you, "Hey, you're kind of stepping off your rule set here," to kind of get you back. So I don't know. I don't know though. I mean, it's a question.
It's tough.
This right here is the crux of the memes and markets sort of thesis as well. It's a big part of kind of the thing that we always lead back into. So I got to ask you about it.
Okay.
If we look back to the January 6th riots and what happened
Mhm.
with President Trump, it was first no Facebook, no Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And then he went to this other platform that wouldn't
Mhm.
debunk it, that wouldn't take him off, called Parler at the time. And then what happened was Parler got taken down by Amazon Web Services. Okay.
I'm
Because that was
laughing
the
with
next
you.
layer.
Yeah. Right.
And so when it comes to like this idea of being able to still propagate messages without having some third party, some centralized source that can take you
Right.
down,
Right.
there kind of gets down to only one other option of how to go about doing these kinds of things. And the technology already exists, and it's called blockchain.
Mm.
Melody, what are your thoughts on the concept of blockchain and cryptocurrency and where those two concepts converge?
Man, I was such an early adopter of blockchain. I was so flippin' excited. I was just like, this is it. Like for my world specifically, because nobody wants to hear about Ginnie Mae repurchases and how that all works. But the servicing world, the securitization market world, I mean, I was just like, this is it. Like, just think about how much crap we could take out of, like, how much bureaucracy, how much. And I fought and I fought and I tried, and nobody was interested. You put it in the promo about how mortgage industry is a cartel, and so is the tech industry. And then I met the person who actually shut down blockchain and mortgage. And he was working at the company that has the monopoly in mortgage technology on both origination and servicing side. These technologies were built in the late 60s, early 70s. I'd built wraparound solutions to all of them. I knew them better than most of the people that ran those technologies. But he worked at that company and he said, yeah, I went into them. I was like, you won't have a business if you do this. It's over. You're not going to make a dime. So if you adopt this technology, you're over. And I just sat there and I was like, how could you do that? And I'm like, I didn't say that to him. I was raging inside, just like raging. I'm like, do you mean you're the person behind my 3 years of trying really hard and really a lot more years of trying, but I tried really hard in the last 3 years. And so I've kind of gotten to this point where it's the same thing we're talking about. I don't know that they'd let it happen. And that's where I sort of where and so, you guys, I'm not as in it as much anymore. You might tell me how it could happen without it. But that what I was seeing is that they were just not going to let this get mainstream adoption. And, maybe that does change. But I was so excited. Oh man, I was like the only person in mortgage talking about this crap. Like again, they all thought I was a little nuts, but no adoption. And it's the same. They wouldn't adopt my products. I have a product graveyard that's a mile long because what would happen is this technology company that had a monopoly, if there was a good technology, they'd come buy it and retire it. Buy, retire, buy, retire. And so that's what they do. And so, I kind of just gave up, to be honest with you, and waited till like we were getting to a moment where perhaps, in the dust of all of this, it's going to become necessary.
Yeah, I think you nailed a lot of that, and I think that a lot of the things that we're seeing are connected to that. I truly think that like one of my core thesis is that like a decentralized social media platform or platforms is like one of the most urgent issues for mankind. And I even
Mhm.
think that maybe I'm too conspiratorial, but we're seeing these lawsuits coming out against the big social media platforms, and I don't think they're organic personally.
Oh,
I,
no, no.
I think they're
Of
trying
course
to
not.
rush in
Yeah.
legislation that makes it impossible for you or I to create a platform that they can't control
Mhm.
more or less in the
Mhm.
guise of safety, of course, always,
Mhm.
right? So, and but the technology is becoming so AI is a very complex thing because
Yes.
AI, I see the frustration that it creates and I understand the fear attached to it. But in a democratizing environment or like an open source environment, the same tools could also theoretically allow a very small team to build a decentralized social media platform or a decentralized platform of any kind, right? So I think a lot of that is like why there's so much going on so fast is because if they don't have us locked down, it may
That's
be
right.
really hard to ever do so, right? Because if we can all talk, how do they get away with all the crap? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100, and also we're smart and fast, and so this is what this is kind of what we talked about before, but like it's not over, right? Because we adapt quickly, and we're like, oh, you're going to tell me I can't talk here? Well, I'm going to go talk here, and then I'm going to go talk, and it's going to, and it's just like right now, what you're seeing is people. I mean, in Johnson City, Tennessee, they're shooting down these flock cameras. I mean, they're like,
Wow.
and this is what we're going to see. And it'll happen to the data centers. It'll happen to the flock camera, whatever. So, but I agree with you. From a incorporation, I knew it was, but I think that for people who do understand the technology and could do something like that and not be caught up, because what happened in tech, it was the most depressing thing I've ever seen. You guys may agree or disagree, but like I grew up, typing DOS or whatever. And then I taught myself how to be a network engineer and I loved it all. I loved thinking about the way all the systems talk to one another. And then you had this thing happen where everybody got specialized. Like they learned, they only did print drivers or they only knew the router or X, Y, and Z. And then everybody got real stupid about technology. It was like insane. It was like, well, no, and I would be on these massive tech projects at companies, and I'd always get called in because I was like no, dude, it's the router. Like, what? Like, what? But no one knew anything, So if you could find people who were truly like, had that mindset of, how all of it works together, and also wasn't. And sorry, the second thing that happened is that anybody that could sort of make a product, they would make it up to a certain point. They would IPO and they would walk away and never do another improvement. And then all the customers would be mad. And so then adoption, everybody was like against it or whatever. And so if you could just get a group of people together that weren't interested in the million, billion, $1 trillion payout, you could do something like that very easily, in my opinion.
The thing
Sorry.
that
Guys.
No, it's fantastic. The thing that was coming to my head on like the crypto pieces, because we have seen a massive shift in the past 2 years here, or year and a half, if I may. And for instance, this year, or just in the past couple of months, you've had the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation starting to actually use blockchain in particular for the settlement of securities transactions. But the thing that is impossible to ignore about the way that this has all gone is that you had years and years of regulators pushing back hard against this industry. Like,
Mhm.
no, you cannot do this. Lawsuits here, left and right, for anybody who's trying to raise capital in
Right.
this sort of a way. And then even suppressing the bank accounts, for instance, of the people who are running some of these companies with Operation Choke Point 2.0, that coming out to light in
Right.
the past year and a half, that being a real thing.
Right.
And now, all of a sudden, who already has their own solutions built out? JP Morgan's already got their stuff built out. They've got
Mhm.
their Onyx solution ready to go now. The DTCC is working with the Canton Network, which is a
Right.
much more institutional grade and born sort of a solution. And so that's the thing that kind of just comes to my mind is like, okay, yeah, we love this tech. This is incredible technology, but not from you guys. Like, we'll build it
Right.
out first. And
Yeah.
you stop over there while
Right.
I continue to build it out.
Yeah. All the
Exactly.
anti-regulation people are very conveniently pro-regulation
Right.
when it matters.
Right. And that fits in my theory that I think the banks are setting up to take back all these assets from the non-banks as well. Like that's they're super mad about what happened post 2008 with Basel III, with they all had to shrink their mortgage footprint, they all had to shrink their balance sheets because of the way that mortgages were risk weighted. And they've watched these actors in mortgage like Rocket and United Wholesale sell, and they want it back. And so it's very similar to what you're saying is like, they're learning and watching so that they can have primary control at some point. and they will likely, I mean, in terms of, you can definitely sense that the banks are winning right now, in certain ways, getting some of those capital requirements eased, and we'll probably see actually more of that. But anyway, back to, not to get away from this topic specifically, but
No, I mean it all ties in. The thing that I was looking for was some of the data around like the concentration of banking in the United States since '08, and even a little bit before that. You started to kind of see massive consolidations, a lot of the
mhm.
smaller banks disappearing. Same things for even you had the separation between the securities transactions and the investment bank, and then the normal loans and savings banks. And on both sides of that today, massive declines in like how many of them actually exist.
Mhm.
And when you put on those higher requirements, it technically ends up squeezing out the little guys because then they can't really participate. They
Oh
can't
yeah.
hire the legal infrastructure to really
Oh
keep
yeah.
up. And so,
Oh, they can't. And there's so much regulatory overlap. Like if you work in these small banks, I mean, the amount of times you get audited is just insane. And then also what they do is these agencies collude. And so if one of them gets you, like the DOJ gets you for X error, then the CFPB is going to get you for that same. They all talk to each other. But yeah, if you're a small actor, but this is a big part of my thesis is I want to see way more local banks. I don't think you can Henry Ford credit. I just don't think I think you have to actually know your customer. Like you have to know your customer. It can't be know your customer by blah blah blah. It's like know your customer. And so I think one of the ways out of this is one, get the from a housing market perspective, but also just our economy is get these, get the government out of it, number one. And if you're going to give any life support, give it to your local community banks, and let your smaller actors help the economy versus these massive, because what have we seen from the big banks? They haven't been lending to Main Street. They've been lending to these non-depository financial institutions. That's the biggest increase in, and that's your private credit, and that's your data centers, and that's all of that crap, which is going to implode spectacularly. So yeah, but yeah, I agree. Too much regulatory oversight for these small lending institutions, banks, to be clear, not banks. So
the other thing that I wanted to come to, because this is something that kept coming up, of I guess it was a couple months ago, that I didn't necessarily fully understand. There's this company called UWM Holdings Corporation.
sorry.
And they took a massive hit this year as far as their stock price. In fact, it's trading even now, I think, at the lowest levels it ever has. And this is one
It's
of
worthless. Mhm.
the largest mortgage lender in America, but it went public in 2020, if I'm not
Mhm.
misunderstanding. Can you break down like what is this organization, and like how does this stuff tie back into what's happening with real estate, and potentially how it ties back into what's happening with banking as well?
Yeah, so if you were in the industry, I think officially it was 2021, but I think it was the like January, um, you knew, I mean, this company was never going to make it. Like their entire model was ridiculous. You also would hear this guy on earnings calls talking about the mechanics of mortgage, and it was clear he just did not understand it. And then he was doing all these things like forcing brokers to work with him. I mean, just a lot of crazy stuff. But he's a big non-bank. They were not around at scale the last time. And he went into a lot of this risky FHA product. And all he wanted was just keep pushing, 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 pushing. And when I say he, this is a situation where he owns a majority of the interest in this company and his family. Um, and he's been at war with the other big non-bank, but that's also kayfabe. But in reality, in 2021, they had one profitable, what I would call quarter for gain on sale. That's what the money you get when you deliver loans into securitizations at government agencies, FHA, Fannie, Freddie. And he wasn't hedging. And, this business looks like it was ran as a money laundering operation. And truly, it was just running money, I mean, through the income statement. And so what happened recently, when you start to get in trouble, that's when you see mergers and acquisitions. And so he was trying to buy someone else because when you, I mean, I could take 5,000 hours to explain all this, but like when you get into trouble at this point in the cycle, you want to go buy some mortgage servicing rights. You do that, you get a big bump. Things can keep going, keep going. Well, that acquisition failed in the spring, and he says he put this company had come under fire in April of 24 from Hunter Brook, who was just talking about, which is like a short company, also politically and financially motivated. They took a short position at the time. No longer do they have that, but they published this article. The Ohio Attorney General came in, did a lawsuit, but they kept skating along. And I just because of time, I kind of just put them on the back burner. But here we go. Q2, seemingly out of nowhere, which in reality, not at all. They take a massive loss on a derivative position that they say they took out to hedge this failed acquisition company, their servicing book, using way too much jargon here. But you would never do anything like that. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing you ever heard of. But he takes a massive loss. But then what you really see is that if he hadn't gotten help from Oaktree, it would have been game over for them. There is nothing there on that balance sheet. They've also have a massive debt maturity schedule coming up in 26, meaning that a lot of the facilities or lines of credits they're using are going to come under duress. But why is this important to the rest of the mortgage industry? This is the first bad actor that everybody can really, really see, and they are a top lender. And so all the problems that they're having are probably like 50 times worse right this second than other people in the industry, but all the problems they're having, the industry is going to have. And everyone they've done, I mean, it is actually infuriating to see these companies do the same playbook that happened last time, as if everyone forgot. And I know there are people at Freddie that I worked with that they know. But here, all these companies went into FHA, which is government subprime. You can have a 580 credit score with compensating factors put down, in the main program. Let's say you have a 620 credit score, you can put down 3.5%. I mean, and so investors use this, but it's supposed to be for first time homeowners. But what FHA and United did is, because there were no prime borrowers left to get into the door. So this past year, they have both since December increased their lending in FHA enormously. And what they don't realize is that the government says it pays you back 100% of the time. That never happens. I manage a claims department, never literally happens. And so they're about to get into these really big liquidity issues. Now, it's not going to be likely some sort of Lehman moment or anything like that, but these companies are going to come under massive stress. Probably, I would say in the next 18 months, you're going to and then, the banks will probably be there to sop up what's left over. But sorry, that's such a complicated topic, but anybody who could read, but what's so funny, guys, is nobody can read income statements and balance sheets anymore. And by the way, they're lying. So I called up a former person in my treasury department at my old company, and I was like, please help me with this cash flow statement, because I don't understand what they're doing. I was like tearing hair out, and he looks at it, and this is a guy that can create any cash flow statement from an income statement and balance sheet. And he's like, I got nothing. And I was like, oh God. So then I'm digging, but I contact their IR, investor relations. I'm like, I need some help on this cash flow statement, because I think what I'm looking at is actual fraud. And they're like, we're sorry, we don't have the resources to talk to you. Please go to our investor relations website. I'm like, okay, then I get to say, I don't know what this is. I'm trying to figure it out, but what it looks like is fraud. And if they had not gotten that Oak Tree capital injection, essentially is what it ended up being, that it would have been I mean, in a quarter, guys, 1/4, largest lender in the country, game over, 1/4. So that tells you how much stress is building under the surface.
Oh, there's so
Sorry,
much more. There's so much
I know,
more.
I know, I know. I'm happy to come back anytime if people want to hear from
Awesome.
me again.
Oh, love that.
It's clear that everyone loves hearing from you today.
Oh, well, thank you.
A couple of things. We have a one word game that we want to do with you,
Oh
but
boy. Okay.
I also have to very um, selfishly ask you another question as well, which is like, what are some of your, and there's does not have to be on any topic, your top books that you've read?
Okay, so my favorite in the past few years is The Price of Time, and that's just the studying of interest rates over, thousands of years and how because it'll take you out of this current moment of interest rates so you can get a historical perspective. And then I read a ton. And so I'd say right now, I'm The Rape of the Mind is one I just mentioned. I think that's really good for anybody who wants to see how far back a lot of this narrative manipulation goes. It's much older than you think. And then I'm also participating right now in Matt Taibbi and Brad Pierce's book club called Get Lit. And we just read Dostoevsky's Demons again. And that was awesome because it is very much about our current political moment. So sorry, I can't ever say best, favorite, whatever. But that's right now.
I'm gonna have to ask you for one or two more because you've got some incredible ones.
Okay, let's see this past. I think Peter Turchin's The End Times. It talks about elite overproduction, where we just, and really harkens back to the Civil War as one to think about our current moment. That's a really good one. Not such a great book as it is just more for the thesis. And then I'm reading Progress and Poverty right now, which is about the 18-year land cycle. That's a thing. It really is in the US. And I think we're hitting it right now. And then The History of Doom. I love that one, like 100 years, or maybe it's more than that, of financial disasters. I could go on for a long time. Hopefully.
Cool. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing some of those. The next thing here is the one word game.
Okay.
And so I'm going to give you one word, and then you're going to give us the one word that comes to your mind as a response.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
No, but okay.
The first word is realtor.
That's a great response already.
I can't say it. They're not all like this. They're really not. There's some good ones out there, but most of them are assholes. And they're liars. And if they didn't just double down when you even try to give them the facts, and I do little secret shopper things, and they double down when you're telling them, no, didn't you just see the census report? Florida only had 22,000 people move in last year. Oh no, there's so many people moving here. So, and of course they're just doing it for a paycheck, but I don't care. That there's a young life in your hands, my opinion.
Super real. I've been in the game. It's tough. It's a very, the incentives of it are all messed up. But let me get back to my job. The next word is Federal Reserve.
Irrelevant.
Nice. The next one here is Texas.
Shit show. Sorry. It's in so much trouble. I love a lot of people there. I'll be there next month. But man, whoa.
The next one I have here is Nashville.
Oh, you're not going to like this one.
Watch it.
It's 2 words, but beyond repair.
I could have we'd have a whole combo on that one. Next, AI.
Misunderstood. I think you said it, Ben. Like, it's just so complicated. There's so many aspects of it. Anybody that thinks they can distill it down into any 5 minute, you can't. So I think misunderstood.
I think it's the perfect word for it. Everyone has a different view and opinion, and even like definition of the word too. So
Yes,
great answer.
Facts.
Right. Exactly. Right. Turk in the machine. It's been around a long time, the concept. So anyway, go ahead.
The next one I have here is America.
The greatest. And I know it's not right now. I mean, I really do know that. But if you spend time outside this country, man, we have a lot of things to be very, very grateful for, proud of. You may think the whole Freddie soccer thing was not real. I mean, whatever you want to think, but really, you drive this country, you see something completely different from what's on TV. And I have lived outside the country. I've lived in Asia. I've lived in Europe. So we're not living it, but we could.
The next word I have is Russia.
Motherland. I studied Russia. I'm a fan. Sorry. I'm a fan of the people. I'm a fan of the culture. Again, they'd probably be in that misunderstood category as well. But they have a core identity. And in many ways, I was just listening to a show with a big historian about, how they're still living a historical reality, whereas we live just in the moment. So very fascinating. And I've studied it for many, many, many years and love their literature.
The next one I have is UBI.
It's going to be a bust if it happens, in my opinion. I mean, just think about the black market that's going to spring up. Anyway.
The next one I have is Bitcoin.
Lost is what I would say right now. Lost. Not sure what that's going to be. Yeah. Go ahead.
Twitter.
It's also lost. It's lost. Rudderless right now.
Final one I've got is mortgage.
Death pledge. That's the literal name. That's what it means. People will say, well, it's not, it's a pledge you keep to your death. I love playing on words too. It's a death pledge. And it is, you're mortgaging your life and your happiness. So, be careful. But.
Awesome.
Love that.
But I probably do have to head out of here to my next meeting. But this has been so fun, guys. Hopefully I haven't terrified people, but yeah.
No, it's been all good. Everyone's loved you in the chat. And everyone who's here, go over to her socials. There are links down below. Go show some love and support and fight back and all the toxicity that goes on on Twitter. Give her some support. And we appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thanks, guys. Ton of fun. Talk soon.
Melody.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye. Cool.
Exit.
I honestly wasn't expecting that.
With what?
The breadth of knowledge outside of just the real estate and the economics, finance world.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, if you're a curious person, and that's why like so many people that know a lot about something in the age of the internet, they know a lot about a lot of shit, because like, unless there's like no incentive for them to do so, right? Like a lot of these guys get fixated on being obsessed with something, like one thing in like a traditional corporate role. But yeah, she's really cool.
Super cool. Anything else you want to touch on? What's up, chat? How you feeling? We got a whole second half to go.
Yes, we do. Appreciate you hanging out with us. If this is the first time that you've ever tuned into one of our streams, definitely stick around, click the subscribe button as well and turn on notifications, because we only ever go live on this channel. So you'll only ever receive notifications if you can come in and hang out with us. And of course, we would appreciate that tremendously. And you can contribute to the chat too, which is also a ton of fun. So if you're watching on the recording, if you go to the bottom where you look at comments, if you swipe over to the live chat, you can see the contributions from everyone here in the chat. So definitely do that. There's some awesome people in the community, and we'd love for you to become the next one.
And speaking on the community, we actually just launched our private Discord. So if you have not yet, and you are someone who's here and you're enjoying the show, you have an opportunity to stake your claim as one of the early participants in this ecosystem by joining us in that private community. Only for the first month here are we offering for you to have a custom badge that you get inside the Discord for being one of the early participants, and it's the frozen cat. Okay, so for everyone who's familiar, if you know, you know.
100%.
So definitely check us out in the Discord. We're continuing the conversations there. We're also giving you guys a little bit of a preview of what's coming next. And soon we're going to be adding some other really cool pieces to it as well. But definitely come and join us and converse with us after hours.
Totally. There's already some legends in there, so definitely come meet them as well from the community. So we want that to be a place where you guys can learn from each other, connect, talk. And then we're also sending in there the kind of things that we're consuming. So we should probably make another book. Do we have a books channel already? I think we did, right?
A books channel? Like a YouTube channel?
No.
In
like
the Discord.
In the Discord,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we do.
So if you want more things like that, talk about certain books, get suggestions for books. And then I'm also, Keith and I are both sending in videos that we come across as we're consuming to learn. So that's a great resource in there as well. I'm throwing stuff in there every so often too.
Super pumped for that. And shout out to everybody who's already in there. You are a real one.
You are a real one. Should we get into the second half then?
Let's get to the second half, folks. I got some news.
Hit me with it.
Well, if you've got any sort of awareness of what's going on in the world, you might have seen that yesterday we had the White House Crypto Summit. And this has led to a massive push in the crypto market over the past 24 hours or so. So at the White House Crypto Summit, the recap is that President Trump signals that the U.S. may buy sizable Bitcoin and other crypto holdings. President also calls on Congress to pass the Crypto Clarity Act. You had Hyperliquid jumping 15% after Trump cites CFTC U.S. expansion efforts. And the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, and Gemini founders are stressing that America must lead in crypto.
There was a timely connection to what we had said on our last episode where we said, do we think Sergey Nazarov of Chainlink is going to stay in the background? And then he talked at that thing as well. So
he totally did.
There's a lot of big characters. There was Buddy from Robinhood as well, which that one's always fascinated me, because if anyone was around for the GameStop days when that whole thing happened, I wonder if, like, because whenever you post anything, you see the replies underneath and people are making comments to the removal of the buy button and stuff like that. But I'm curious to see like his role, like, because obviously they've made him one of the main characters, but I think that people, I don't know, I think there's too many people that were there that know that it'll be tough to make him seen in a positive light.
I mean, it's fascinating. At the end of the day, Robinhood is still such a massive company, right? And there's just so many users. So
fair.
But the reason that he is so uniquely important is because he's got the youth, right? Like that's the future of American investors is Robinhood.
Yeah. But I do also think that the switching costs of these kind of platforms is going to dramatically diminish.
That's true.
So I don't know how much the network effect will be as prevalent moving forward unless things change pretty dramatically. Because I do think if we move to a wallet-based world, will it be as complicated to switch providers? Like, I don't know.
I love that thinking. That's real. And unfortunately, it makes me think about this. Might be why everyone's starting their own prediction markets, because they need to at least keep up right on the product level. But at the end of the day, it's actually the wrong thing to do. Because if you're going to compete, then it might actually be on a brand level. It might actually only be the only thing that you can compete on. It's like, why do people actually like you in particular?
Totally. And yeah, and the mission-driven stuff may be more impactful than simply adding in a a feature because everyone else is doing it? Like, is there that much creativity there?
Totally.
But this shit's getting real, people. Obviously, we've been talking about this for a very long time, but it's getting real.
It's odd. It's an odd thing to watch this stuff flip flop, and then, I mean, obviously now going into this like bear market, or I guess some people think it's about over. Let's say hang out, but that we just got this whole new wave of people, right? This is what sucks. So last year, you had all the people who were serious actually paying attention now because, like, oh snap, it's in the White House. Like, we cannot ignore this. At this point, like, I don't care how old you are, I don't care how non-tech literate you are. The president of the United States is telling you, he's signing executive orders telling the entire government to work on making this stuff normal and standardized, right? And so at that point, the really smart people who have been ignoring this for the past 10 years were like, oh snap, I need to like tap in. And then the first thing that happens to them is they all get rugged.
With Trump coin?
With Trump coin, with the whole past year. You know what I mean? Like, the market has just been straight down since then.
Yeah, kind of like a great move to get everyone shaken out, to like tease everyone like that, get everyone super excited, be like, see, we weren't stupid, we weren't dumb. They're like, oh yeah? Yeah, yes, you were. And then I think obviously a lot of the things that are going to happen here were inevitable, and that's why a lot of people who were early on crypto were here. But yeah, it's pretty insane to see what happened over the last 12 months versus how crypto people thought that it would go. Very, very different.
Facts. Yeah. So then all the people who are the OGs in the room taking the final, I hate to say it like this, let me put it nicely, the final guy who's the laggard but is smart enough to understand that this is happening. It's like, I told you, bro, like, come in, and then bang, just get smacked in the face. But here we go. There's a little bit more to this.
Cool.
Trump said the CFTC chair, Mike Seelig, is working to bring Hyperliquid into the US compliantly. Fascinating. Hyperliquid is the leading decentralized perpetual futures platform that is currently offshore. Another thing that happened was that Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse met Trump and SEC Chair Atkins at the White House. He was joined by crypto industry leaders for talks on digital assets. And then, as been pointed out, Trump acknowledges Sergey Nazarov at White House crypto meeting, and the Chainlink Labs co-founder recognized among other tech executives. Super cool moment. The next piece that I've got is Doodle's Toy Factory launch. So, Ben, you've talked a little bit about this before.
Yeah. So
can you
Doodles
give us some background on what's going on?
Totally. So Doodles is one of the main successful NFT projects from last cycle. They were really beloved. They understood the culture of crypto Twitter, or I guess NFT Twitter, and and Citron's comments is hilarious. I'm just reading that now for the first time. But I don't really agree with his thesis there. But so Doodles was one of the biggest projects, and they've seen a big crash in terms of what they were worth. At one point, I think they were like 20 plus ETH per Keith, and now they're down to like 0.3 or something along those lines. And they've been getting a lot of hate as of late because they focused really hard on creating their own kind of approach to an image generation model that was perfectly built to create any image into a Doodles themed image, right? And people are like, why would you do this? Like, this is totally against the thesis of NFTs. Like, this is not artists first, whatever. But the bigger mission here was to basically create a custom toy factory where any image that you were to upload, you could get a Doodles version of whatever you wanted. So let's say I want to take a picture of my cat. I could get a Doodles figurine toy version of my cat, right? So this is to expand the IP beyond NFT people, because you don't have to care or even know what the NFT is to think that the toy is cute and it's customized to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely like not a massive move here, but I do think that Ed Zitron's dunking on them and he had said specifically, he said, remember when this stuff was supposed to be the next Disney? And like, I totally get what he's saying. This isn't like groundbreaking stuff, but this is the like first kind of example of the kinds of things that are possible now that were previously only accessible to people like Disney, that now a small team and an NFT project can actually go do. So
Mm.
I hear what he's saying. Fair play to you. But I think that this stuff will age and be viewed very differently in the next 5 to 10 years. We'll see.
Fantastic. I didn't even see that from Ed Citron. It's funny that he's got his hands on the crypto stuff too. But
The thing with the internet, right, is because he's relevant and his people would also like to dunk on NFTs, he's gonna do that too because he knows it's easy clicks, right? So whether he's
That's
conscious
fair.
of that or not, like he's really ignorant on this whole thing. Like, has he ever run a consumer's brand? Has he ever run, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things
For
he doesn't
sure.
know, which is totally fair, and I get why he's dunking on it, but I disagree with him. We'll see. We'll look back at this in 10 years and see if I'm not saying that Doodles is becoming Disney. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that there will be some major IPs that come from NFT world.
Love it. The next piece that I've got here is Wyoming adopting Chainlink CCIP, the Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol. So Wyoming's Stablecoin Commission has migrated its frontier stablecoin from Layer 0 to Chainlink CCIP. The Chainlink co-founder Sergey Nazarov publicly welcomes the switch after the state's security review. A U.S. state chose Chainlink's cross-chain tech for official stablecoin bridging, signaling institutional level, legislative level trust in the technology.
Can you break that down more for us, Keith?
I can do what I can because I'm just now seeing this for the first time. But what I will say is that Wyoming has been on top of digital asset legislation and movement for quite some time, and huge shout out to them for that. So from what I can see here right now, Wyoming has created a stable token commission. And what this is likely about is providing a little bit of oversight for stablecoins that are being introduced in the state, which I think they have potentially like their own stablecoin project in particular. So let's actually just try to look at this real quick because I actually don't know. So this is the first fiat-backed and fully reserved stable token issued by a U.S. public entity. And the Frontier Stable Token is a digital asset under Wyoming statute and can be issued and redeemed for USD and is backed by US dollars, treasuries, and repurchase agreements. So Wyoming does have their own stablecoin here. And now the reason, well, I can also only speculate on why they'd be working with any sort of an Oracle solution. But it does mention CCIP in particular. So what this is probably about in this case is making sure that this stablecoin that Wyoming has released is interoperable across several different blockchains. Okay, so that they're not basically just stamping, okay, we're issuing this on Solana or issuing this on Ethereum, and this is the only place that you can get it, which is a fair approach for a state who's trying to offer what should be essentially a public service, right? So that's as far as I can really speak on it at the moment. But Layer 0 is the major competitor in the Chainlink sort of Oracle world. And it looks like it was not too long ago, it was a few months ago that we had Sharp telling us about the fact that Chainlink had just gotten like trillions of dollars of switches from, I guess it might not have been trillion, billions of dollars of switches from people who are using Layer 0 to now using Chainlink.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And then the network effects there can really kick in because a lot of these decisions are based off risk avoidance, right? So the more people that are associated with it, even just optically, that the risks seem to be diminished.
Even just optically. And another thing that I guess I don't think about a whole lot is like the more that there's kind of value that's in the Chainlink ecosystem, in a lot of ways, the more secure stuff gets in a sense.
Why is that?
Just because of the fact that you would have more at stake for lying.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like the more successful you are as a node operator or as someone who is providing data to these ecosystems, if your stake is going up in value because the Chainlink token is going up in value, then you have less and less of a reason to want to lie. Because now if you lie, you're losing more and more of something that also has the potential to in the future become more and more valuable too. So anyways,
Super interesting.
A little bit of extra thinking that just came to me. I'm not sure about that, Mayor Rippey. I know that he has been around Wyoming and some of those legislators there too.
Yeah,
The
I'm
next
sure he's
piece,
played some sort of role, but I don't know how direct.
yeah. The next piece, Replit launching a free mode. So they announced a free mode powered by OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Luna. Replit and OpenAI are partnering to offer free advanced AI for coding, and this makes AI-powered app building accessible to everyone without cost. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great PR move, right? Whereas, like, what is really the big existential threat for most of these frontier models is the optics, right? What's the fastest way to sell someone on this vision is let them solve their own problem with this shit, right?
Mm,
You got to give them that wow moment where, because everyone is like down for the cause until it makes their life better. Do you know what I mean? Like, how many of the people crying about AI, which, like, I'm on your board for a lot of this stuff, I get it, but like, how many of them have actually seen like wow experiences from it? Very
that's
few,
super fair.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying take the bait, but I'm saying a lot of people will. Like they'll go build an app with this that is not, it's not gonna be groundbreaking, but they'll be like, whoa, I can build software now, and that's gonna be a game changing thing. There's gonna be a lot of shitty apps, but it also means that people are gonna have a just different perspective because we're still so early in the communication of what all this stuff is.
That's a really good point. And it makes sense, man. I mean, Replit, so they've run a lot of really good ad campaigns over the past couple of years, or maybe year. And it's essentially like, oh, you got an idea? Like, just go build it. But for someone who is, for instance, not a builder, you look at that and you're like, I'm not building an app. Like, I'm not going to pay you money to build an app when I don't know what I'm doing. But like, if it's like, hey, you've got this real big problem in your life that you could solve within like 5 to 10 minutes using Replit or whatever,
Mm,
come use it for free.
yeah,
Right. And
very
then now you've
compelling.
got a ton of people who are actually doing what they're saying that it can do.
And it's the custom nature of it that could be that aha moment for people, because a lot of people have very specific problems that they deal with, or they'd want custom purpose built software where it wouldn't make sense for you or I to build that because it's like so specific, and it doesn't even need to be
Right.
that complex because it's their specific problem. So then you don't have the other issues with building something that's AI generated in terms of like scalability, security. If you're just using it for yourself, you don't really care. You know what I mean?
Totally. Exactly.
So that's not a liability. So that will change a lot of people, because with the age of the internet, people have been so accustomed to the best experiences being free because their mind and emotional state was being extracted. People's expectations are for everything to be free. So like it'll be fascinating to see how many people try to build something because of this, strictly because it's free. So
Mm.
very, very interesting to see.
Yeah. Might be a really good business move right there that just took place. This next piece that I've got here is the first mRNA cancer vaccine just won its phase 3. So Moderna and Merck's personalized mRNA therapy plus Keytruda succeeds in large phase 3 melanoma trial. So this is the first AI-assisted, individualized mRNA cancer treatment to clear phase 3. This is a custom vaccine that encodes up to 34 patient-specific neoantigens from tumor DNA, and this builds on phase 2 data showing sharply lower recurrence in wow, I tried so hard to make it through this one, but I don't know this word. Metastasis risk. And so I actually, funny enough, I guess almost knew we were just about to talk about this. I saw that the Moderna stock extends gains to plus 212% on the day
Wow,
in after hours trading following these positive results.
that's absurd.
That's wild. I wonder what Martin Shrekley has to say about this. I bet he's got something for sure. He's the guy who went to prison for a little bit for price gouging.
Kind of crazy timing with the whole Fauci stuff, though.
Hard to deny that. That is a fact. That is a fact. Wow. Look at this chart, folks. So right here, 65 up to 175 in a day, basically. Wow. Yeah, you opened up, closed yesterday or 2 days ago at 65, opened up at 116. Straight doubled overnight. Wow, folks. Incredible. So I can't act like I know any of the words on that screen there, but sounds like it's important. And I do recommend listening to someone like Martin Shkreli. I'm sure he has some great thoughts on that piece. Next, we've got some stuff that's been going on the internet that we've got to react to. So it's time for the memes.
Hit me with it.
Fantastic. Now we've got the Tucker Carlson making some statements saying that America is being plundered. Catherine Austin Fitts was on Tucker Carlson. She's a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Housing, investment broker, and publisher of the Solari Report. And Catherine Austin Fitts is the one basically saying here that inflation reflects decades of debt-driven restructuring and intentional consolidation that has lowered household incomes while raising everyday costs. Let's hear it from her.
So there's no one we can think of who's got a clearer handle on this or a more longitudinal view gained over many years, beginning at the Treasury Department on this question than Catherine Austin Fitts. And she joins us now to explain why burritos are $20. Catherine Austin Fitts. Catherine Austin Fitts, thank you so much for doing this. I have a lot of questions. I'll keep them short. Are we experiencing inflation in the United States, do you believe?
Yes, we are experiencing inflation, and there is a reasonable chance that the inflation, at least the increase in household goods, is going to get much, much worse.
Why?
So it is because we've been going through a restructuring of the economy for many decades. This has been building for many decades. One, we start off with a model where we have a debt-based currency, and that debt basing forces huge expenses that you don't have to have. That's number one. But number two, we've run our fiscal economy in ways that I would describe as a financial coup d'etat. And as we've pulled resources out of the economy, we have consolidated ownership and control in a way that forces expenses, or it lowers the income for the general population and it raises their expenses. And this has been a intentional consolidation of ownership and control. And now you're seeing the results that result in people being squeezed in a variety of ways. So I'm describing a change in the financial model, this centralization of power and economic control. And it involves many different things throughout the economy. But the important thing to understand is it was a plan, it's intentional. And if you look at where we are, it's going to take many, many things to change it, because it comes with tremendous and explosive changes in technology, which can be used to create great prosperity, but can also be used to consolidate control in a way that benefit the few and destroy the many.
So as I hear your big picture description of this transition through which we're moving, the first thought that comes to mind is, boy, that sounds a little bit like what happened after the Soviet Union collapsed in the summer of 1991. And all of a sudden, Russians woke up 10 years later and all state industries were owned by a small group of people. It was
correct.
I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Well, if you generally, I mean, I'm grossly oversimplifying, but if you look at the people who did it's called the rape of Russia.
Yes.
You know, it's a similar group. And I'll give you a story. I was in the city of London making a presentation in 2001, and I'd been asked to speak about what I call piratization in the United States, the consolidation of the real estate and housing market. So I'd been the Assistant Secretary of Housing. And I gave the presentation, and two presentations followed, one by Ann Williamson, who had been covering Russia for the Wall Street Journal during the rape of Russia. And she got up and gave a presentation. And then John Laughlin, who's a remarkable British commentator now in Paris, stood up and did the same on what had happened in Eastern Europe. And the three of us went into shock, as did many of the investors in the room, because we realized it was the same firms, the same law firms, the same intelligence agencies, and what they were doing in Eastern Europe and in Russia and in the United States was a very similar game. We have a big presentation at Slurry called Plunder. but they were basically going in and plundering. And it was one plan. It wasn't 3 different plans or 3 different groups. It was a process of consolidation of the economies in all 3 places.
Keith.
Well, another piece from the Catherine Austin Fitz. At the end of the day, it actually just reminded me of how she reminds me of Melody Wright.
Yeah.
And
I got those vibes
yeah.
too a little bit. Like both very smart.
Super smart, super deep into the housing game, super well read on other subjects and history as well. And I think she's hitting something on the head right there with that one.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A lot of people don't know that took place in Russia, right? Where like what you described in terms of like so much of the wealth was consolidated to like a few families kind of deal after that event. Like we always think that nothing like that won't happen to us or nothing like that could ever happen. And they thought that too. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Your camera's frozen on my end, by the way.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if it's for everyone else.
Hey, no. Let's check on that. In the meantime, I'll put up another screen to distract you from my face. Crash Market is live streaming markets. So they now posted a promo for turning any live stream into real-time prediction markets. The platform, powered by Monad, lets users bet on events like Uber times or goals. So this is introducing markets on everyday live moments previously unavailable to trade. This draws crypto interest with novel on-stream betting opportunities. So
crazy.
Here we are.
Yeah, absolutely absurd. I think the comment that I saw from the person who broke that news was welcome to Squid Game or something like that.
Yeah, I have not seen this yet. This guy here, Spectra, said we live in hell. Param Patel, this might be the craziest product launch I've seen all year. It's actually saying a lot compared to what's been going on. Edward Anguoso Jr. said, God Almighty, if you can hear me, strike this down and make the earth open up to swallow what remains. So, yeah, interesting reception of this.
There's so many dystopian things.
Yeah, that are just happening. That are just legit. The Black Mirror episodes that are coming in real life now.
Yeah, they were just priming us for its reality.
All right, I guess I am actually frozen, so I'm gonna refresh real quick.
Sounds good. Sounds good. How are we, chat? How are we living? Road is there on asphalt. Crazy. Truly, truly crazy. Keith is back, and he is not frozen.
Not frozen. Next, Mr. Beast contestant sues over OnlyFans deletion. We were talking about this in one of our calls yesterday. So
Rob broke that, right?
Yeah, he's the one, at least, giving some extra context here from the legal perspective.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the pod. What up, Rob? He says, a Mr. Beast Games contestant is suing for fraud because she says she was told to delete her OnlyFans account to continue to the second round of the competition. She deleted it because she believed doing so was mandatory. In quotes, at the time, plaintiff's OnlyFans account was an established income-producing business that generated more than $5,000 per month, end quote. She says that the demand was false. Wiping off accounts was not a mandatory condition of participating. Dan Noon says this lawsuit is called advertising.
For OnlyFans?
For the girl, I guess, or for the, I don't know if it was a girl or not.
True. That's phenomenal advertising for her. For her OF is about to run up some numbers, unfortunately.
Rob does comment back saying that the plaintiff's name turns up no results on Google. OF handle not mentioned anywhere in the complaint. If there's an advertising angle, it's not being deployed very well.
Awesome. That's really great context provided by him, because yeah, that's where your mind would go. But if all that's true, then kind of alleviates that a bit. But wild times we're living in. Like, could you imagine trying to explain that scenario to people even 10 years ago?
Oh yeah, facts, facts. Just 10 years
It,
ago.
a YouTube guy built the biggest show and he had on this girl who was an OnlyFans model. What's OnlyFans? Oh, people like sell pictures of their boobs on the internet. Like,
for side income, it's a side, it's a side hustle now.
bro, it's becoming scary prevalent because as things get worse and worse and it becomes more normalized, more people will try it, right? And like
Mm,
I know a decent amount of people in my own personal life that were like friends or people that acquaintances that I knew from school or extensions of acquaintances that do this like
mm.
for a side hustle, man.
And do they connect it to their like profiles, or is it more just they do it and no one really knows, but you do because you talk to them?
More of the latter,
Yeah,
where because I'm always fascinated by the marketing, right? I'm like, who's buying this shit? Like, how are you marketing this, right? One
yeah.
angle from a person that I was speaking to most recently, they're using Snapchat to market it because apparently there's not a lot of
Okay.
competition there within their like discovery crap, and apparently it's all just like shit like that anyway. So if you're a parent, do not let your kid use Snapchat. It is a cesspool of debauchery over there. Stay away.
Fascinating.
And then they'll buy like it's crazy. You know the whole like Andrew Tate thing where he made money by basically running the cam girl operation?
Hmm.
Like he also kind of normalized that for people that
Oh,
like
totally.
him. So now there's like guys getting involved
Yes.
with this crap. Even like the one example I'm referring to, it's like kind of his partner who's helping them talking to these guys, but the guys think they're talking to her.
Hmm.
I'm like,
Hmm.
he's looking at me talking about this, and I think he thought I would react like, "Oh, that's sick, man." I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then he starts changing his stories a little bit, and I'm like, "Bro, this is like every which way you slice this. This is messed up."
It's interesting, man. I've run into someone who does this kind of stuff, and like there's a philosophy around some of it that was interesting to me, and it comes all back down to the whole like deep down into the systems of like how is society set up, right? And why is this necessarily something that's bad when people are paying for it and or want it and or whatever. But the real philosophical thing comes down to, why is it frowned upon? Because clearly people are willing to pay for it and buy it, right? But then but why is this person castrated from society when
For doing it.
really the guys over here who are the ones running everything are the guys who are paying for it?
Totally. Yeah, no,
But
I
yeah,
think
it's
that
interesting.
the guys that are paying for it are probably more to blame because it's like,
Mhm.
well, I probably pretty split, but like, yeah, totally. Like, there's so much of that. Where they'll be, oh, this girl's such a whatever. Pick your word, and it's like, mate, you're paying for it, right? A lot of it comes down to like the division of things, right? Where like a lot of men, the scariest part of it is that a lot of men who are buying this stuff, it's not really for the pictures, it's for the DMs and the opportunity to have some sort of fake semblance of connection
Mhm.
with a woman, right?
Mhm.
And as you've talked about a bunch before, with no stakes attached.
Right. Yeah.
So where you don't have to fear rejection and you get those needs artificially met. And it's so funny, a lot of these guys are paying extra money through the DMs because they think they're talking to the person, and most of the time it's AI or a dude.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's all crazy because I got to spend some time like learning about some of these operations as well.
Oh, in Miami, I'm sure.
Oh, well, this was even a little bit more recently, but there it's a big thing. Um, and yeah, it's just it's a weird space, man. But yeah, no, in Miami, even there were so many instances of people telling me about like super weird stuff, guys. Like it's so weird, but people having the money, right, to pay for weird stuff. I mean, there was this one girl who told me that like never mind. It's not appropriate for the channel, but it's just like people have these. We all are neuro different, right? And some people are completely neurodivergent in other sorts of ways, and they just are willing to pay for these types of things, and they're doing it over the internet, especially when there's no consequences for it, right? No one is seeing. this or anything like that. So anyways, I will I guess keep it pushing from here.
Sure.
The next piece that I've got is GTA 6, with Kalshi posting a claim that GTA 6 leakers say the game will let players exchange in-game currency for real money. So what's up, Sharp? Okay, for sure.
Yeah, there's also been leaks of apparently in-game footage. So we've talked about him before. Mimudahar guy, he's awesome, but he talked about it more in depth about the GTA leaks, and he looked at them, and because he studies AI content all the time too. He's the same guy that we talked about with the whole Google Gemini image model thing with the two towers kind of deal. And he said that he looked at the leaks and he said that he thinks they're credible. And there's just like this whole thing going on right now where the leakers are like apparently within the Discord or community of actually like GTA, and they're like going at each other. Apparently, it's a pretty wild story. I definitely recommend going to his channel to look at it because he knows the stuff inside and out. He's a gamer and he is a GTA fan. He's been calling them out for all the crap that's been going on.
Fascinating. And so the other half of the story here is like this big leak that happened with GTA 6, and apparently part of the motivation for this has to do with the fact that these games are not making it into the physical form, and it's all digital releases.
Yes, it's digital only.
So the people are upset, and they're saying, "Hey, you need to put this out so people can own the game, brother, and not lease it from these companies." And so people are hacktivisting and like leaking some of the game. Apparently, that's what the narrative is.
Yeah, because people are pissed for a lot of reasons. Because all the video games have been pushing towards digital only, and for it to become a normalized thing, it would have to be done by a brand as big as GTA, right? So for them to do that, it's a scary precedent because now every other small guy who wasn't doing it because they knew people get pissed, they're gonna be like, GTA freaking did it. What choice did we have?
That's very real. That's very real. They definitely are setting the standard in so many different ways with this release.
Yeah.
But wow, I mean, real money. I mean, but what would be the point of? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's crazy to think about, having real money, exchanging in-game currency for real money. How would that really technically work? Why would there be any value to the in-game money?
Well, I think it's going to be this stuff we've been talking about all along, right? In terms of, like, why is there value or a market for in-game stuff currently, right? It's just that you can't really get it out of the game, right? Like, there's some people that try to get around it by selling things on eBay, but it's almost always violating the game's terms of service. And if you get caught, you can just get your whole account wiped, right? So it's already a thing now, and there's like Roblox ecosystems and things of that nature. Roblox may be a little bit more lenient with allowing people to do that because they actually let people run basically full-on businesses within their ecosystem. But there's a lot of other games where it's not allowed. And so, yeah, I just think it'll be probably in-game currency, probably in-game items that you can swap, get off, get real money. It'll be really, really interesting.
The way in my head that it works, that you have in-game money being worth real money, is if the in-game money can be used somewhere else, right? Or outside of the game itself, which,
if you make the swapping mechanism simple, that could be essentially done. Like, a lot of time, I think a lot of these things that are going to happen is that there's going to be so many crypto first things that go on that the user doesn't even see take place. Right? Like, so, like, let's say, for example, you're spending the GTA bucks, and then it's in real time does whatever swap that it needs to a stable coin without you even having to think. Then you're like, you think you're spending the GTA bucks, but it's really a stable coin. You know, I think things like that can happen.
Totally. Super fascinating, man. I think that's, I mean, everybody's, you've been saying it, but we'll see what actually happens here.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be super interesting to see. But like, one of our first episodes, I got clowned on that hard. That was one of our first TikTok clips that got any bit of push, and it was just everyone calling me an idiot. I was just nice.
Awfully Hot Coffee Pot said, "Great guest. Haven't been on a live stream in a while. Came to see Melody. What up? You should have Cassie Hart, founder of Equilibrium, as a guest on here." we'll keep that in the notes. Thank you for pulling up Awfully Hot Coffee.
Welcome back.
To see this next piece that I've got here. Off print with a magazine. So Daniel Belfort introduces Off Print, which is a physical magazine built from articles you save but never read. Users text links all month, approve the issue, and get it printed and delivered to them. Turns digital read later piles into offline print for focused reading.
It's kind of dope.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah, it's a freaking awesome idea. And then I said to Keith, I was like, dude, we need to bring back like a subscription magazine, like a Memes and Markets magazine. We do like one a month or something like that. That'd be so dope. Or like every contributor within the ecosystem writes like a story or two, and we go direct to consumer. You could, if you had a big enough pull, you could probably also get into like airports and shit like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, what a cool concept there for sure, man. So yeah, Daniel Belfort with a cool concept. Anything else you want to say on that piece?
No, I think that's cool. I think that analog, like in real life stuff, physical stuff, is going to have a major comeback here as kind of we swing the pendulum back from the purely digital experiences. I don't think digital is going anywhere, but I would try to focus, even if you're building a digital first experience, like how do you make this a real life thing too? Like for every product that we're building in the background, we're thinking of community and connection and people. So I think you should be too.
Love it, man. What a great launch for him too. He's got 1.9 million views on that.
That's great.
So cool. Good stuff, man. All right. This next piece, Grokbot with $1 million pitch. Someone privately owns Grok.bot, and publicly asks Elon Musk and XAI for $1 million for them to buy it. So the live sales page calls the purchase pure luck, timed near a Grokbot launch. Domain was registered in January 2026 and currently shows the $1 million offer. Viewers care because it is a high-stakes domain flip tied to the popular Grok AI brand. Isn't there like some laws against that stuff now?
Against what in particular?
Against like buying someone else's copyrighted terms as a domain.
So did he buy it after?
I don't know. It sounded like he kind of did, to be honest, but maybe not.
How did they not have that sorted beforehand, if that's the case? But that domain, like buying and selling, was a big part of the internet back in the day. Like if you had, and people would just scalp them like crazy. If you were early on the internet, you'd buy everything. Like, and I remember these companies were having to spend crazy amounts of money to buy the .com domains of the exact match stuff. Some people made millions and millions of dollars. That still happens now, where people buy and sell domains, and it's become a bit of a different landscape now because people are a lot more accustomed to going to websites beyond just .com. Right? Because back in the day when I was first running online businesses, if you tried to send anyone to a domain that wasn't .com, they're like, this is a scam.
Facts.
Right? But enough businesses have come out where they couldn't possibly get the .com domain, so then they become accustomed to doing really whatever. They don't really care. Like so that plays a big role.
Dude, I love that. That's so real. I feel like that's honestly like maybe 5 years max where that's just been super normalized.
I'd say COVID, because there were so many online businesses that started where they couldn't possibly get the .com domain. So they went with io.co. For example, somebody has benlevitt.com, that bastard still won't sell it to me. He also has @benlevitt on Instagram. He also won't sell it to me. I've been messaging him like once a year for a long time, where I'm like, "Hey, you still want to sell it?" We had a back and forth when I was in college, and I offered him like a few $100, and he's like, "Nice, I can take my family out to McDonald's." I'm like, "Well, it's that, or it's wasting. Like you're not using it."
The guy actually like talks to you. That's freaking hilarious.
He did. He stopped now. He doesn't reply anymore.
I'm sorry. That's some awesome lore right there.
Yeah, Ben, if you want to give up the domain and the handle, let me know. I still won't offer you that much more than that, though. Like, who else is going to buy it?
True. That's true. I mean, I guess that becomes less. Wait, that's a weird incentive, though, Ben.
What?
Because the more popular you become, like, the more someone else would.
And the more that they'll look for the verification badge.
Okay. Because you can't verify the account.
Also, good luck at ranking above me if everyone who searches that shit is looking for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like the handle actually becomes less relevant because it's more about like they prioritize that more.
Fair. All right. The next piece that I've got is Kelsey with an ad for AI data centers. So Jason Kelsey stars in Liquid Death by Garage Beer video urging people to mail urine to cool AI servers.
What?
The satirical campaign mocks data centers' massive water use with a catchy "We Want Your Pee" song. The brand sold limited data center coolant collector jars that quickly sold out. It taps into growing public backlash over AI infrastructure and its environmental impact. Did you see anything about this, Ben?
No, it's the first time hearing of it, but for a brand like theirs that is the general consumer, you definitely want to tie yourselves to movements like this. And so I understand why they're doing it.
Have you ever heard of Garage Beer? I've not.
Garage Beer? Yeah, that's their brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Gotcha. I see now. Fascinating. And is it like I said, is it real beer? This is so interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a real beer. Yeah. Like that's their beer brand that they started because of their podcast. So the Kelseys have one of the largest podcasts on the planet.
Yeah.
Can you not hear me? Okay.
I hear you just fine.
Okay. ZMF says turn up your mic.
Oh. Yeah, no, I can hear
It's
you
also
fine.
it's dependent because like people always think that what they're hearing through their headphones is like what everyone else is hearing. It's like, mate, it might be your headphones too. So like there's so many things. But I can turn it up a little bit.
Word. So yeah, I mean, interesting move because I've never heard of Garage Beer. So there we go. Definitely making it to my eyes. And Liquid Death I have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of why I was like, is it a real beer? But no, it makes sense. Cool.
I'm pretty sure they were talking about it. I've never purchased one. I've never seen it in the store, but they did say they were building it.
There you go.
Wow, that's cool. What a sale says I sold a tech name domain to Microsoft for $15,000 back in the 90s.
Wow.
That's wicked.
That's cool. That's very cool.
That's dope.
This next piece that I've got. Comcast turning Wi-Fi routers into motion sensors. Comcast's opt-in Wi-Fi motion turns compatible Xfinity gateways into household movement sensors. Signal changes reveal movement without recording video, images, audio, or identities. Customers receive alerts through home, away, and nighttime monitoring modes. Fine print permits disclosures during investigations, disputes, subpoenas, or court orders.
So another thing that can monitor what we do.
Why would you want that?
I don't know. We lost your camera. Did the router get you?
Oh no. Oh, that's not fun. Yeah, I don't know why anyone would want that. Like, why would you want that?
Maybe as some sort of security mechanism. So like I could see alarm companies wanting that, right? Where now if they can say, oh, backed by AT&T, if you leave the house, like we know if someone's in there kind of deal.
Bro, if someone's in my house while I'm not there, I think we just let it go, bro. No, I don't know. I mean, you have a camera. Like, why would you need a motion sensor versus a camera? Like, in what sense would a motion sensor be more relevant than a camera? That's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, as I used to, like, I've sold alarm systems for a summer. Like, I'm thinking of how they would use that to sell. Like, maybe if they take out your cameras, you can't take out this unless you, or they won't think to do it. Shit like that. I don't know.
The bad guys won't even know, but this is a motion sensor.
Totally. Yeah, I don't know. But ZMF said, who is Jason Kelsey? Jason Kelsey is the brother of Travis Kelsey, who is one of the most popular American football players on the planet. And they became really famous because Travis married Taylor Swift in the ultimate, like, obviously it's a real marriage now. They got married, but that shit was a plant. Come on. Like, and then people, because Taylor's so loved, I've like said that and people got so mad at me. And then eventually when they sit on it for a little bit, they're like, oh, you're so right. how you think of the dollars at stake between the NFL, which I think is the highest grossing sports organization in the entire world. FIFA may be higher, but if it's not them, it's close. And then Taylor Swift. And then they happened to date. And he happened to be a massive pusher of the vax. Like, there's just so many angles where I'm like, come on, people. And then now they're like the couple that gets covered all the time, and he's become massive in the media because of his podcast. So yeah, that whole thing was just, I was like, oh my God. And even on there, what got one of my friend's sisters, because she was like a huge Swiftie, she was like so devastated that I said this. She's like, you're just cynical. I'm like, maybe I am. Sure, I'll let it go. And then they announced their engagement, and then like they announced the engagement, and the next story post was an American Eagle ad of their engagement. And I'm like, you're telling me this whole relationship wasn't conceived in a boardroom? There is 0% chance, in my opinion.
I love it, man. I love it. Keith D's mic etiquette is horrendous. Shalom.
What does mic etiquette mean?
I'm always banging a table or something. It's probably what it is.
That's part of the charm, right? It's the live stream.
Let me know what I did. Lawrence. The next piece I have is AI boss drives first reported human firing. Andon Market is a San Francisco boutique where Luna manages hiring schedules and daily operations. One worker was late for 17 of 23 shifts, sometimes leaving the store closed for hours. Luna reviewed the record, judged the employee unsuitable, and recommended ending the worker's contract. Humans initiated the review and delivered the dismissal, but Luna's recommendation directly drove the firing. There you go. Safe autonomous organizations without humans in the loop for Andon Labs.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Here we are, folks. I guess that's what's going on in the world. Anything else you want to say on that one?
No. Luckily, we've got someone who doesn't think I'm crazy. Sarah says, yeah, you're right, Ben. And Taylor is way too into the occult. It's in her music. Yeah. You also got to look at like who her dad was. And then all of her growth makes a lot more sense. They've made a lot of very good strategic marketing decisions over the years. So yeah, that's a fascinating thing there. She's one of the biggest brands in the planet. Like, she came to my city for a show, and I think she performed like it was either 3 or 6 shows, dude, and they all sold out at the biggest arena that we have here.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
Airbnbs were going for crazy numbers while she was in town.
That's crazy. That's
ridiculous.
Crazy.
I could have Airbnb'd my place for like a crazy multiple during, like, even my freaking aunt who was going to the show was like messaging me, can I sleep on your couch? I'm like, you're a 50-year-old woman. Like, this is crazy. This is the kind of impact that she has. It's kind of terrifying.
That's wild, man. That's great. So after this, we've got some actual funny stuff to talk about here.
Cool.
A couple of memes for the folks. Introducing Luke Berry Pie. Introducing JDD, jealousy-driven development. He types into Claw or Cursor. Are these the best fixes? Codex suggested something.
Did we lose you, Keith?
Me? No.
You're back. You're good.
No. Did you guys hear my explanation of
it? Cut off right as you were about to say something.
Okay. Well, so the joke here is that someone's typing in the cursor and they're saying, hey, are these the best fixes? Codex suggested something better, So yeah, it's like going to ChatGPT and saying, Claude actually gave me a better idea. What you got? How do you feel about that?
It's like a toxic relationship.
Yeah. The latest invention in prompt engineering of trying to get the AI to give you the best
competition.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Ali, son of Ali on Twitter says, if your girl drinks a lot of water, causes drama, remembers everything. That's not your girl. That's a data center.
That's fantastic.
The next piece that I've got is Bitcoin after the U.S. Treasury buyback announcement. That's actually so lit.
Wait, what's the context of this?
It looks like the Gangnam Style guy popping up on stage, but yesterday the Treasury announced that they were doing buybacks. You could also say it was the White House news, either one of those two, leading to Bitcoin going crazy. I don't know how I've never seen that. I feel like maybe I have, but that was cool to see. Just how lit that crowd was for that.
Yeah, well, it's like isn't that where the meme of Erica Kirk comes from?
You might be right. I might have seen one of those for her.
Because the AI videos are hilarious. Where like she pops out, she's like.
The next one here I've got is from not Jerome Powell. It's crazy, man, that this thing is so big now. Bitcoin just hit 69,000. This means that it's going to 1 million next. See the chart below. It's been used plenty of times, but always a good one of the chart analysts. And then the next piece, Hype Economist, POV, you opened right before the speech. This is from the White House Crypto Summit.
It's so hard to watch when they have those meetings. Like everyone's just so awkward around everyone. You know what I mean? It's so unnatural.
100%, man. Yeah, I wouldn't want to have to be in that room.
No.
Speaking of, someone did send in one of my group chats that the CFTC, that guy, Mike Seelig, is actually meeting today or has met, I guess, at 1 p.m. And some of the confirmed attendees include Terry Duffy from the CME Group, Tom Farley from Bullish, which is an exchange, a crypto exchange, Adina Friedman from NASDAQ, Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, Christian Genetsky from FanDuel, and Luke Horston from Bitnomial.
Wow.
Fantastic. Just fantastical. Let's see. I think there's some other ones too. Yeah. Somebody just wanted to point out Brad Garlinghouse, basically.
Yeah. Totally.
Shane Copland's there. Big go.
It's wild. That's crazy. And M Green here said Jason Kelce is also one of the best centers to play in the NFL. Yeah.
That's fair.
His brother, he seems like a cool guy. They all seem fine, whatever, but it's like, who are they associated with? Who's paying them? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's what it comes back down to. But that's all I've got there. The next piece will just be talking a little bit about community.
Hit me with it. The community.
The community. All right, so we had a solo episode this week. We talked a little bit about why everyone is taking crypto so seriously all of a sudden. It was a good show, good time. You guys pulled up for it, which was nice to see. Everyone wants to hear about crypto and the bear, I guess still. Phosphit said, it's such a crazy reality how in-depth our species is. There's so much detail to everything. There's so much detail to everything about what you can achieve in all these fields of knowledge beyond physical capabilities. I may have to put more thought into the sentence, but most species don't go beyond the physical feats they can achieve. I'm trying to remember what might have prompted that.
There's things pure bots underneath them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's also a bullish signal, guys, as we started getting bots attacking us again. So I taught us like how we can try to mitigate them, but they're going to be relentless. So this is a warning to anyone who watches the show. I'm sure you don't need it, but if it looks like a bot, it's probably a bot. And we will never suggest projects, tokens, anything of the sort within the comment section. And we will never send you to a WhatsApp or a Telegram, anything of the sort.
Yes. And so you'll see what they do, guys, is they'll have different profiles continuing what's really from one botted thread. Okay. So, as a beginner investor, I always need help. It's always literally the same lines at this point.
Yeah.
But in general, watch out for this behavior, this pattern of, like I need help with something. Oh, you need help. Here's someone who can help you. And it'll just have their name sprinkled. It's like, they wrote a book or whatever.
Or book, group, whatever. And when the prices continue to come back, it's going to become a bigger thing. And then now AI is pretty sophisticated for this stuff. So don't interact.
Yeah, guys. And it's super tough because there's really not a way for us to stop it. Like it's very hard to stop it. And so, and YouTube doesn't make it any easier. So just
no, they make it like a job, dude, to stop them. It's crazy.
Yeah. Andrew Harvey said, love the content, fellas. Leaders of the new school. Keep the discourse alive. You're molding minds. Appreciate you, Andrew Harvey. Phosphate said, I love collectibles. I just have none. That's fair. Josh Dolder.
Great question.
Yeah. He said, what are the shovels in the NFT industry if I don't want to buy NFTs directly?
That's tough because my first mind went to the like layer ones and whoever will be the primary chain for those things. But I also think because even NFTs, like there will be pros and cons to like using different chains for different things and different relationships made. So I'd say probably the layer ones that are building for that future. Like that's really my thesis for ETH, is that it is kind of the de facto NFT chain from a collectible standpoint. Like the real IPs, of course, there's other chains that are doing great things and other projects on other chains, but when you think NFTs, you think ETH. So that's where I'd probably go. But I may have a better answer for you in the near future. I'll think on it.
I think you nailed that. Someone was asking me the other day. Excuse me. Someone was asking me the other day. They're like, what is the point of ETH? Like, why would anyone even buy ETH anymore? And I was like, honestly, it's kind of the NFT chain. Like, you can't really get around that.
And if certain people need ETH to come back and be relevant, how many tools do they have to do that within the ecosystem apart from NFTs? Which is another point for my NFT thesis for why I believe ETH NFTs will come back, is because like, how many other things can they do to bring people back on chain?
Right.
There's not that many experiences, right? And there are a ton of people that feel burned that are about to feel like a genius.
Yeah, or unfortunately for the people who left the room, they're gonna feel really dumb.
We're gonna see a lot of stuff of like NFT project went to X price, guy lost wallet. There'll be a lot of that.
Yes,
but that's also a further like bullish thesis for NFTs in terms of the scarcity, right?
I see the Bankless headline.
Totally.
Bankless sold Punk. That Punk now sells for $50 million.
Oh yeah, poor guy.
Oh man. All right, so let's see what else we got. Somebody came at you a little bit. Let's see. KJ Klelik. LOL. Ben is enthusiastic about almost every other thing but Ripple.
So that's funny. I saw that as well, and I debated replying to it. And I'm like, I'll just talk to him here. So that's tough because I'm assuming that they mean XRP, not Ripple.
Well, I think Ripple is fair too, because in general, it's more about like, because that then actually justifies their observation, I think.
For what?
Because you don't care about XRP, but also where's the thoughts about Ripple and what they're doing?
I've said a bunch of times over and over again that I think if you hold the underlying asset, you will make money. It doesn't mean that I align with it or I like it. Right?
Word.
In the future where that goes down, like, are you happy that took place? That's been my thing the whole time, right? So I think people holding it will make a lot of money. I think the community is very active, and I think that will be a massive force for when money does come back to the space. And I think Ripple as a business, they're doing a lot of things with the right people at the right time. So it's more of a philosophical thing than anything else. I think you'll all make really good money. So if that makes you happy, then you're good to go.
Let's see. The next one that I've got here is Matthew Caracelli. The real question is, who is currently holding and accumulating the bag, and who provides the off-ramp for those people? Oh, well. I kind of figured he was talking more about NFTs, but I could be wrong about that too. Anything that comes to your mind on that one?
Yeah, well, crypto in general, all those things have to be considered too. Like the off ramps
Yeah.
are a real thing, right? Who controls them? How decentralized can something be? If to turn it into anything that you're actually spending money on or can spend money on or with, you have to involve a centralized entity. So yeah, fair thoughts.
Brand One said, while watching this, I got the feeling GameStop may get into selling NFTs in some way. Good show, guys.
It would make a lot of sense, right? With the brand association to games and now collectibles too. Yeah, that'd be a pretty no-brainer.
Yerp. What a sell, missed the live. Had to take a friend to the emergency room. Check out the replay for sure. Yeah, sorry to hear about that. I hope that your friend's all good. What a sell. Who was this? Said we're on the verge of finding out if Claver's theory is right because dominoes are lined up.
I'm sure he'll get a lot of I think a lot of those things will happen.
And then show me what I need to know says crypto should not be taken seriously.
I replied to that, but I guess YouTube deleted my comment. I said, yeah, I totally agree. Sketchy. These guys are idiots. And,
I love it.
Yeah. But appreciate all y'all. We do look at the comments in the following episode. So we appreciate y'all for taking the time to leave your thoughts. All good stuff. And yeah, I think Ripple will do great stuff for price.
Yes, sirs. So all that said, it's pretty much just what's going on outside of the show itself, which is that I got No Dice at 45 today, folks. I'm on day 13. I'm going to pull my challenges live for you guys.
Look at the comments.
Oops. I actually took some of our own suggestions from some of the content I'm about to put out. And my phone is currently in black and white.
Nice.
So I've changed that up a little bit. It definitely changes the experience some, but let's pull today's challenges. Uh-oh. I've got to meditate. I've got to give out my 5 compliments. Exercise. No gamble and watch 30 minutes of something educational. I think I can get it all done.
I know you can. I've got keep the apps blocked. I've got a journal. I have to watch 30 minutes of an educational podcast or YouTube video and summarize what I learned. I got to say hi to 5 strangers. That's easy. And I got to work out. I'm going to lift weights.
I'm going to push some iron. I'm going to move some iron around.
Totally.
Good stuff. If you're unfamiliar with No Dice, it's an app that is built with 2 major things in mind. One of them is how can you replace bad habits in your life with good ones? And how do you make it fun? All right. And so No Dice 45 is a fun challenge you can take with your friends and say, hey, dude, I bet that I can go 45 days without gambling or with doing the things that I think are cool on my phone, right? Watching educational videos, meditating, things of that nature. I bet I can make it through 45 days straight faster than you can. And you guys can hold each other accountable while you do it as you post stories about the things that you're actually doing, like going to the gym.
And you can add each other as accountability partners so that if you do break it, that they'll be notified that took place. So yeah, definitely join us in that. We are posting about our experience through the challenge to break bad habits with your phone and build good ones that give you back the keys to your own life and allow you to drive that to a place where you actually want to go. But yeah, come join us. You can start your trial by clicking the link, Apple or Android. And then, yeah, the community is on the screen right now. If you want to come hang out with us after hours, chop it up, continue the conversation, talk about other things, talk about things that we may be looking at, be curious about, come hang out.
Yeah, folks. So No Dice in the description down below. And also, if you want to join the memes and markets community, you can join us at the first link down in the description down below as well. That one in particular, the price of it will actually likely go up, right? So it's great for you guys to get in now, both to lock in the pricing and also the fact that you'll get that fancy tag on your name as one of the OGs in the server for the rest of time. So
yes, and we also
join us.
Yeah, we have plans to expand the value that we give there as well. So, like, truthfully, I don't want everyone in there, which is why it's like it's priced the way that it is. That it's for most people affordable, but it likely will go up because I don't want like hundreds of thousands of people, or eventually, you know what I'm saying, like tens of thousands of people in there. It's not kind of defeat the purpose in my opinion. But yeah, so come join us there. You can lock down your founder's role and that price point as well. For you, it'll remain fixed, even if it goes up for other people that come after.
That's right.
Cool. Well,
fantastic.
That's it from me, Keith. Anything else from you?
Nothing else from me.
Cool.
Appreciate you guys for joining us.
Yeah, let's go through and say what up to some people who have been hanging out and show some appreciation here.
Mary
So
Rippey.
what a sale. Sarah, Mary, yeah, you already said. Chad, what up? Chad said some stuff that will spark some discourse. So let's throw it up. XRP founders already made their money. Holders are now the bag holders.
Oof.
There you go. How are you now? Appreciate you as always. More monkey business. Thanks for hanging out. M Green, BAPN, ZMF, Awfully Hot Coffee Pot, Noxo. Did I miss anyone?
No, but I saw Lucas Hawkins. I don't know if you pointed him out. He dropped something too.
Cool. Lawrence.
Let me throw him up real quick. Why do I not see it over here? Lucas Hawkins said, Ben, Keith, are either of you accumulating crypto? No need to give coins. Just curious if you guys are buying.
I would be if I had any money.
Lucas Hawkins, you see these prices? You think we'd be sitting here talking about this crypto stuff and just not even trying to buy a little bit?
Yeah. Any opportunity that I have for disposable income, I would be putting it into the market right now. That's what I would be doing. That's not what I recommend anyone do, but that is what I personally would be doing.
In fact, I'm about to buy me a little bit of Bitcoin right now just because you said something.
There you go. There you go.
I appreciate the reminder, Lucas Hawkins.
Sweet. So, well, thanks for hanging out, guys. We appreciate you tremendously. If you are watching on the replay, definitely make sure to click subscribe and hit the bell notification as well so you can come in and hang out with us later. We will also be doing some evening streams to mix it up in the future too. So even if you could never show up live, still worth turning those on because we'll have an evening stream next Tuesday, I think, right?
Yes. Next Tuesday, we've got our regular scheduled noon and an evening session as well. It's going to be at, my time, 8, your time, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Speaking of XRP, Abs is in the house. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing fantastic.
What up, Abs? How do you feel about Chad Wick's comments, bro? He said that the only reason XRP goes up is because the XRP army thinks it will. And he said,
but does that matter?
Brad and all those guys already made their bread. And you're just a bag holder, Abs.
Starting some beef, Keith. But everyone who's here, go over to Good Evening Crypto as well and subscribe to their channel. They do awesome streams. Abs is incredibly active on Twitter. I love seeing his stuff. One of the best sources for XRP in particular, but crypto at large too. Go show them some love.
Yes. And just so you know, in case you don't know, this is Good Evening Crypto right here, folks. Check them out.
One of the best shows in crypto for sure. Go show them some love.
Sin dúvidas. Without a doubt, guys.
There's a lot more bread to be made, says Abs, and then Chad.
I mean, that's my thought on it. I'm like, you guys, think about how much more money Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse are going to make when the price of XRP goes to some crazy level. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget, guys. Do not forget that there was a day in 2019 that Chris Larson passed Mark Zuckerberg.
Wow.
In his net worth. Like, there's no reason why that doesn't happen again. At some point.
Absolutely huge. But yeah, appreciate all you legends for hanging out with us. We will be back Tuesday with 2 episodes. So our originally scheduled 12 p.m. stream and then an evening one. The real legends will be at both, but come to whichever one you can, and then make sure to watch the replays. They're always there. We're also live we're on Spotify too, Keith. We don't talk about that anymore. But if you're a fan of the show, you can help us tremendously by going over there, listening to an episode or even a few seconds of it, and then giving us a 5-star rating over there if you like it, of course, as well as
If
the
you
Apple
like
Podcasts app. Those are big platforms where basically the reviews mean almost everything there. So
Yeah, guys, pull up to Spotify, Apple Music, just in case, you like the little bit of nicer audio treatment, whatever it may be. Check us
very
out.
good point. Very good point for headphones, ZMF. We always treat the streams with AI leveling for Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if there's ever audio issues here, they should be remedied over there.
Make today the best day of your life, folks.
That's it, guys. Be the light that you want to see. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see all of you on Tuesday.